Okay, I'd like to call to order the village board meeting of November 13, 2014 at 5:30 p.m. Clerk Simsky, have a roll call, please.
Mayor Gunther.
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Addington is absent tonight. Trustee Barker.
Here.
Trustee Barry.
Here.
Trustee Nero is absent tonight. Trustee Scott.
Here.
Trustee Seneca.
Here.
Acting Village Manager May.
Here.
And Attorney Zimmerman.
Here. Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome everyone. We'll go on to open forum, and if anybody has a request for open forum that is not on agenda item, you still have a chance to fill out a form with Chief Mulhern. I do have one request. Martha Armstrong would like to tell us a little bit about a meeting at the Westmont High School.
Hi, I'm Martha Armstrong, 116 East Des Moines. We got an email from the school district, and I thought that everyone should know. I wasn't sure how much more information was out about it. The email was about Senate Bill 16 Impact Forum. Significant funding cuts to suburban schools and higher property taxes are the potential consequences of a proposed legislative measure, Senate Bill 16, to rewrite Illinois' school aid funding formula. Please join State Senator Chris Nybo, Republican from Elmhurst, State Representative Sandra Pijos, Republican from Glen Ellen, Dr. Darlene J. Rossetti, the Regional Superintendent of Schools of DuPage County, and other local superintendents to discuss the specific impacts Senate Bill 16 would have on our suburban schools and property taxpayers. Attendees will be given the opportunity to submit questions or concerns to panel participants. It is Monday, November 17th from 7 to 9 at Westmont High School at 909 North Oakwood Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. If we do not have any other open forum requests, I will close open forum and move on to reports. The first one is my report under the mayor. I'd like to make mention that Trustee Addington unfortunately had to be hospitalized. He has an infection. He's doing well. We talked to him today. He should be out tomorrow. So we all wish him well. I'd like to ask Larry McIntyre, if you're here, to please come up and tell us a little bit about the stormwater meetings that are being planned and coffee with the mayor.
All right, thank you very much. We've been talking about the issue of stormwater in the community for actually many years. Of course, the spring of 2013, we had that huge flood, and that prompted another round of meetings with the community to talk about this important issue. What can we do? What could we do? We put together a residents group, residents and actually business owners. We did it actually a couple different ways, but a lot of people came forward, gave us their feedback, gave us their thoughts, and now the village board is getting close to acting and moving forward on how we're potentially going to address this difficult subject, which is not unique to Westmont. It's something throughout all of northern Illinois. And so anyway, over the next couple months, we're going to have 5 public meetings, and we want to promote those dates and those locations. Because people who are interested in this topic, this is a time to come out, hear what's been done thus far, hear what the potential plan is moving forward. So I'll go ahead and talk about these dates first. We're looking at November 22nd. That's on a Saturday. That's actually going to be a coffee with the mayor event. It's going to be at the Westmont Library, 11 a.m. So everyone's invited out to that one. And then a couple days later, on Monday the 24th, back at the library, but that'll be Monday evening, 7 p.m. The meeting after that, so 2 meetings at the library. The next meeting will be December 1st, and that's going to be a marker PTA meeting, 6:30, and that's at the Westview Hills Middle School. Then we have a village board meeting on December 11th. And I'm going to guess that this will be an agenda item that we'll be bringing up and having some thorough discussion about. And then we have one more community meeting that will be with a community unit school, District 201. That's going to be on December 16th, 7 p.m. And that's here at the Village Hall. So anyway, we have these meetings coming up in which we're going to be talking about this issue. If people have questions, we do encourage them to reach out to us. They can reach out to me directly. Larry McIntyre, my cell phone is 630-417-0280. And then also my email is lmcintyre@westmont.il.gov. But this is going to be a chance for people to hear where we're at on this topic and the plans for moving forward. Ultimately, for this issue to be addressed in a meaningful way, we need revenue. And that's what the village is going to be discussing. How do we go about getting that revenue and moving forward? So, any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'd also like to call up Christine. We're going to give information on holidays, which is right around the corner.
Hello, everyone. So this year is the 20th anniversary of the Westmont Park District. So they have coordinated a lot of special activities for the Holidays Winter Festival, which will run from November 23rd through December 31st. It kicks off on the 23rd with the Lions Pancake Breakfast, the Gift Bazaar, which will take place at the Park District Community Center. And there's also a collection there for a food drive for People's Resource Center. And for anyone participating with sponsoring a tree at Veterans Memorial Park, that's also the decorating day as well. So we'll get all the trees decorated out there. And then we move on to Saturday, November 29th. That is the big kickoff day and opening ceremonies. It will start with Small Business Saturday, which kicks off with a 5K run starting at 9 a.m. And that will be followed by various activities throughout downtown, lots of family fun. There's breakfast with Santa, lunch with the Grinch, gift wrapping, Christmas characters, dance performances, gingerbread houses, cookie decorating. The entire day is filled from 9 a.m. till probably 8 p.m. that evening. At 5 o'clock, we will have the Frosty and Friends Parade, followed by the tree lighting ceremony in downtown, and then pictures with Santa in Westmont Center. And Westmont Center will also have an open house and different activities and musical performances from 3 until after pictures with Santa are over. The Park District has also coordinated a bunch of additional activities that will run through the month of December. And there's Polar Express, Lunch with Santa, PVPN will have a performance of It's a Wonderful Life this year. And there's some Saturday evening Santa workshops and the Grinch workshop. So you can find all this information at the Park District website, which is westmontparks.org, or by calling the Park District at 630-963-5252.
Very good. Just as a reminder that the Holidays is a total community run event, the Village of Westmont, the Park District, the Westmont Special Events Corporation, the Gregg House, and the library are all groups that form that committee to run the event for the community.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all I have. Clerk Simsky.
I was just going to explain that with the Rotary 5K Ugly Sweater Race on November 22nd. It will start at 9 o'clock, and people can register at the Westmont Rotary Club website, which is westmontrotaryclub.org, and you can register right online, or you can register at Westmont Park District at the community center. So there are ways for you to register. And the other thing, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in December after this meeting. So.
Attorney Ziminek.
Just like to request an executive session to discuss personnel.
Very good. Acting Manager May.
Oh, nothing. Thank you.
Go to trustees. Trustee Barker.
A couple of things. The first one is something that has come up in the community, brought forward by one of our residents. It's a cash mob. It takes place on Saturday. The store that they've targeted in the downtown business area is the Blue Beaker, who is new to the town. The idea is that a bunch of the residents that would like to participate show up at the Blue Beaker sometime during that day and spend $10 to $15 at that location to support our business community. So it's a nice event. It'll be our first one organized by one of our residents, and we're pretty proud of that. Also, Westmont First will meet next Wednesday, November 19th at 7 p.m. here. And a couple of things that we are still working on is the Adopt a Hydrant program. We're asking all the residents to engage in that before the snow flies. We saw a little bit of it today, no shoveling required. But we ask everybody to take a look at the hydrant in front of their home if they can and register to be the person that's responsible for that. So our firefighters don't have to be, or our village staff doesn't have to be the one out there trying to find those hydrants. The other thing is and I'm thinking about this the other day, I'm calling it a neighborhood network, and it's a program that we started through Westmont First, and we're starting to pick up some steam for this. It's called a blockhead program, and it's a blockhead is a good thing. And we're asking folks to be a responsible person on their block and give us some contact information. So in an event of, for example, years ago, a year and a half ago, when we had a flooding event, we had to do some outreach to every resident that may or may not be impacted by the flooding. And it was actually village staff and volunteers that went door to door. If we had contact information, a responsible person on that block, we could reach out to that person and ask them to get in touch with their neighbors throughout that block. So we're looking for responsible people to step up and be blockheads in our community. And I have a note here and a map for all the trustees to start identifying the blockheads here in Westmont. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Seneca.
Thank you. First, I just wanted to extend sympathy to the family of Pat Brown. Her mother, and you'll recognize the name, I'm sure, Helen F. Zulis, was a lifetime resident here in Westmont. She was actually born up on North Grant. Her family then bought an acre next door, so she and her husband built their first and only home right on North Grant, and she lived there until she passed away this past Tuesday, and I believe she was 92, so long time resident that will be missed. And thank you very much to Pat Brown for making sure that we got that information. Also, I wanted to mention we do have the coat drive going on again this year. It's been 15 plus years. Kathy Crane and Patty Mikowski are actually heading it. We ask for new or clean, gently used coats, gloves, scarves. They can be dropped off here at Village Hall, the Park District, the library, the police station on North Cass, the fire department on South Cass, and we will be taking collections until the 21st of November. The clothes will be distributed within the community to different resource groups, such as the People's Resource Center and others, so that's really good. And then just, I'll throw in a committee report kind of ahead of time here. Public safety, just this last week, our police department, Citizens Police Academy alumni hosted with the Attorney General's office a presentation on consumer fraud. It was incredibly well attended. The information was wonderful. Many handouts, a lot of good information. I hope that we have an opportunity to do it again so that we can get even more community members involved. It was well worth it. And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Barry.
Just a couple things, and we're going to go ahead and do our committee reports
Yes,
now,
please.
too. Okay. Just well wishes to Trustee Addington and also to Jim Bader, a member of our Rotary Club who's went through a surgery, and I hope he's doing well and his family's doing well. Just to recap from the EIC meeting from November 3rd, the recycling presentation and the village's climate action plan presentation are currently available for viewing on the village's YouTube channel. EIC members will be working with Mike Ramsey from Public Works to participate in the Holidays Parade and promote water conservation and more. So look for them at the Holidays Parade. And then the EIC will begin monthly meetings starting January 2015. Right now, they've been a little spread out and had to reschedule a couple, but they're hoping to start their monthly meetings in January. And as far as the building and zoning, we're meeting next year, and we'll determine when, right, Joe? So, okay, very good. Thank you. That's all.
Trustee Scott.
Thank you. First, I'd like to acknowledge a couple of special guests that we have in the audience tonight, if I can. The first would be Julian Britz, the Chief Administrative Officer for Industrial Gas Engineering Company, a producer of high-temp fans. IGE is located at 130 East Quincy and is celebrating 90 years in business. Is she here? Please come on up.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. So Industrial Gas Engineering, or IGE, as it says on the side of our building, is celebrating our 90th anniversary. We were actually founded in Chicago, in 1924. We are the first company in the United States to focus on high-temperature fan equipment. It's intended for the heat-treating furnace service. We are a private family operated business, beginning with my grandfather, Raymond Britz, my father, Robert Britz, and then myself now, Julian Britz, continuing to run the operations. 1941 is when we moved to Westmont in our current location, which was said is 100 to 130 East Quincy Street. Over the years, like any business, we've had our highs and lows, but our constant design reinvention and offering what we think is the highest quality product on the market at a fair price is, I think, what's kept us thriving for 90 years. At this time, we have actually expanded to Yorkville. We do have a large factory there where we do most of our manufacturing. But here in Westmont, we basically use the site now for our offices. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with our line of business, but some of our major customers are AFC Holcroft, J.L. Becker, Seco Warwick. But then ultimately, our product is used in the auto industry and steel industries. We are very proud to say that we are 100% manufactured in the United States, and you don't hear that too often these days. And most of our employees have been with us at least 10 years, some for a lifetime, so we're pretty proud of that as well. So that's our business in a nutshell. We thank you so much for honoring us. This is, I'm not sure if anybody knew what was going on in our little section of the world, but we really appreciate it and wish you all the best. I mean, you've got some amazing things happening in the city. I fortunately don't live here, but I think I'm going to go to some of these Christmas events. That's absolutely fantastic. So. But anyways, that's what we do. So thank you for honoring us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here in town. And they're going to be having a 90th anniversary ribbon cutting tomorrow at noon at their location. So anybody who wants to show up, please come. And then second, we have in the audience Debbie Pia, the College of DuPage Westmont Campus Administrator. And she's going to update us on activities that are happening at the campus and here in Westmont.
Well, good evening, and thank all of you for inviting me here tonight to talk about College of DuPage Westmont Regional Center. I've had the pleasure of teaching at the college in the 80s and 90s, and most recently, since 2001, I've been the manager at the Westmont location. The facility was built there in 1991, and it's just amazing the people that come in and say, well, when did they put this place up? 1991. You may think that it looks like a small one-story facility, but it houses 20,000 square feet. They really made some good use of space and planning out there. We're open 6 days a week, Monday through Thursday, 7:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday, 7:30 to 5, Saturday, 7:30 to 1, totaling about 76 hours a week. All of this is handled by my staff of 1 full-time person, 5 part-time, and 2 student workers. So it's really an amazing feat of what happens out there. We offer many services such as counseling appointments, Learning Commons providing testing and math assistance. We have Wi-Fi. We do admissions and registration assistance. We have computer resources, an open computer lab for students as well as for our community members. The classes that are offered vary each semester, such as psychology, math, English, speech, anthropology, humanities, biology. But our anatomy and physiology classes are extremely popular there. We have a dedicated classroom and lab just for the A&Ps. Most recently, we're offering the BNA certification, which is the Basic Nursing Assistant certification. A BNA is an entry-level nursing assistant who helps RNs, which are the registered nurses, and LPNs, which are the licensed practical nurses, with hands-on patient care. This course is 8 weeks in length. Following successful completion of the course, students must successfully complete the state registry exam to begin working as a BNA. In recent years, the BNA has become one of the 10 fastest-growing careers in healthcare. With advances in medicine, an increasing older population, nursing homes, hospital, healthcare agencies, and other medical facilities have become more and more dependent on the care provided by well-trained, state-certified BNAs. You are always welcome to come to the Westmont Center and take a tour. I take great pride in showing off my facility. Also make sure that you see all the changes that are taking place on the main campus as well. It's just totally incredible. I thank you all for your invitation and for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know the village is very proud to have the COD campus here, the satellite campus here in Westmont, and we look forward to many years of working with you guys together.
Yes.
And I just want to remind everybody about the Small Business Saturday. It's the day, November 29th, it's a day when everyone is encouraged to shop local merchants. So please remember that your sales tax dollars go to work for this community. And that's all, and then, speedy recovery to Jim.
Larry Forsberg? would
Larry Forsberg,
like
you have
Larry to
anything
come on up
additional?
and-
I'll just add one other item, just a quick reminder on the Westmont Winter Ball. Monday is our deadline for reservations. It's Friday, November 21st at our very own Hilton right here in town. 6:30 reception, 7:30 dinner, followed by an evening full of live entertainment and some special fun surprises. So hope to see you there. You can register online at westmontchamber.com or call the chamber office at 630-960-5553. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to agenda item 6, items to be removed from the consent agenda. Are there any board members that request that any of the items be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'd ask Acting Manager May to please read.
Mayor, the first item on the consent agenda this evening are village board minutes. Board to consider approving the minutes of the village board meeting held on October 29th, 2014. Next item under village board minutes are executive session minutes, and the Illinois Open Meeting Act requires that the village board periodically review and accept, approve, and/or release executive session minutes in whole or in part. Now, all of the minutes to be released are on the agenda. There are 56 dates between February 28th, 2008 and October 2nd, 2014. It includes 46 paragraph exceptions and 10 instances of not releasing any of those documents, so I'm not going to read the dates unless anybody really wants to know, but they are published.
Steve, he didn't.
Next on the consent agenda is finance ordinance number 15 in the amount of $2,768,127.01, followed by purchase orders. First purchase order to Artflow Systems, $18,348, represents the flooring replacement for the police department in the garage and in the booking room area. Next purchase order, Don Morris Architect, amount $14,283.66 for monthly review and inspection services. Next purchase order, Wholesale Direct Incorporated, $5,204. It represents the, it says light package, it's the warning light system for the Unit 201, which is in the Water Division. Next purchase order, Red Hawk Security Systems, $13,865. This is for CCTV camera licenses, and not only is it a budgeted item, but it is also part of the state grant, the security grant that we received, so that is 100% covered by that. Next is HD Supply Waterworks, $13,230 for water meters. Next purchase order, Blue Star Tech LLC, $6,000 for high-end network support, and this is pursuant to a contract that was already approved by the village board back on July 24th. This is the purchase order for that. Last purchase order, DLS embroidery and screen print, $5,274 for fire department uniform, fire shirts, and winter gear. Total of purchase orders amounts to $76,204.66, brings the total of the purchase orders and finance ordinance number 15 to $2,844,331.67. Then finally, on the consent agenda, under community events, is the Race to the Flag 5K for 2015. Board to consider an ordinance approving the following two requests pertaining to the 2015 Race to the Flag event held in Oakwood Subdivision on May 24th, 2015. It includes street closures for the Race to the Flag 5K, as well as the issuance of a license for amplified sound. Background on that subject is this is the 6th year of a very highly successful event that is put on by a partnership between the Lions Club, the Red White Barbecue event, and as well as village staff. It's a charity that draws participants from not only from the community in the Chicagoland area, but even from out-of-state participants. To date, over the last 5 years, this event has raised and donated over $52,000 to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So move, Scott.
Second, Parker.
Motion's been made and second to approve the consent agenda as read. On the question?
I just have one question. On purchase order, I guess, number 7, to this DLS embroidery, is that a local Westmont business? Do we get that done? Does the fire department know? Is that?
That's certain.
We can find, no.
Okay, I just, would be something nice if we're
Yeah, if
making
we
sure
had
to
somebody
shop
that
that
could do that,
Westmont
yep.
first, especially with that kind of ticket, so.
That's a good point.
I've got a comment.
Yes.
There's one typographical error on the executive session minutes. It's listed as November 4th, 2013, and it should be listed as November 14th, 2013. So Ginny, if you could just perhaps retroactively make that typographical correction.
Thank you, I'm sorry. I missed that when we went over them.
It's all right. Alicia caught it.
November 14th, I've corrected it all.
The correction will be part of the.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Anybody from the audience have a question on the consent agenda? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Moving on, we do not have any unfinished business, so I'll move on to new business A. 407, 309, and 311 West 63rd Street Pathway Development Partners. The board to consider ordinances approving the following requests from Pathway Development Partners regarding the properties located at 407 West 63rd Street, 309 West 63rd Street, and 311 West 63rd Street, all in Westmont, Illinois, for the following. 1, a map amendment request to rezone the property at 407 West 63rd Street, 309 West 63rd Street, and 311 West 63rd Street for R4 PD General Residence District Plan Development to R6 Special Residence District. 2, site and landscaping plan approval to build an assisted living facility. 3, preliminary plat of subdivision. 4, a zoning code variance request to reduce the required front yard setback in an R6 special resident district for the purpose of constructing parking within the setback. And 5, zoning code variance request for relief from the maximum allowable density in an R6 special resident district. Acting Community Development, Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant requests rezoning to R6, site and landscaping plan approval, and variances to build a senior living facility with 109 units. This would include 75 assisted living units and 34 memory care units. The amenities would include dining rooms, activities, wellness, and outdoor courtyards. The applicant presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission in August and was continued for additional information. They returned for a public hearing in October. In the meantime, the applicant also met with adjacent residential neighbors and has revised building elevations and screening along the property lines. The Planning and Zoning Commission made a unanimous negative recommendation based on concerns including flooding, change in density and use, along with traffic issues on 63rd Street. Several commissioners felt a senior living facility was needed, just not at this location. We've received a letter in support from Bellerive Terrace Homeowners Association and the property owner Barbara Schramm, which was passed out at the dais. In addition, the applicant is here to address comments and questions, and many of the residential neighbors surrounding the property are in attendance. And I'm also available if there's any questions.
Good, so if they'd like to, the petitioner, if you'd like to come up and. Just a second to hook up the technology. Okay, we'll let you get. I have it here. I don't know if. There we go.
It's magic.
I hate technology. Good evening. I'm Bob Helly with Pathway Senior Living and Pathway Development. I'm joined tonight by David Dastur of Jensen and Halstead Architects, our architectural firm, and Dave Schindel of Mackey Consultants, our civil engineer. As Jill mentioned, we've proposed to the village the development of an assisted living facility at 407 West 63rd Street, about a half mile west of Cass on the south side of 63rd. We'll come back to this drawing a few times. One of the things we've been made aware of is that the village has had substantial issues with parking and traffic at three facilities in town: Westmont Nursing Home, Burgess Square, and Manor Care. And we need to, for our own purposes, need to draw a distinction. All three of those are skilled care facilities, otherwise commonly known as nursing homes. We are proposing an assisted living facility, which is a very different project. Both skilled care or nursing homes are licensed, and assisted living is a licensed category. So we have very strict guidelines as do skilled care, and we both have to meet licensing requirements with the State of Illinois Department of Health. A skilled living facility or skilled nursing facility or nursing home requires a certificate of need to be approved, so that one must apply to the state, prove that there is a certificate, that there is a outstanding need, and get approved for that certificate, because there is a substantial amount of state payments that go to nursing homes, primarily Medicare and to some extent Medicaid. Assisted living is a private pay product. We're licensed, but we don't have a certificate of need requirement. The significance of that is it is well nigh impossible for an assisted living facility to be converted to nursing homes, to a skilled nursing facility. You would somehow have to go back and obtain that certificate of need to turn it into a nursing home. The other major consideration is a assisted living facility is usually built to whatever the multifamily standards are within the village. Skilled nursing facility has to be built to I-2 or institutional 2, which is a very expensive, much higher standard than anyone would build an assisted living facility, and certainly not the standard that we are building to. So again, the
chances that a assisted living facility could be converted to skilled nursing and all the issues around skilled nursing are almost impossible. If it is necessary for us to agree that we would never change the assisted living facility to skilled nursing, we're certainly happy to do that. We have no interest in doing that. In the planning and zoning, we've tried to, and over our conversations, we've tried to describe our facility as we're proposing it here. We have been in business for about 17 years. We have currently in operation under our company, and that we have developed 12 assisted living facilities within the Chicago area. Included in here are parking ratios and staffing. But to give you a sense of what we're proposing, there are 2 facilities in the area that are very much direct competitors, and we all like to think we do a little bit better job, but in straight up description of what we do, Sunrise Assisted Living on 63rd and Willowbrook is very, very close to what we do, as well as the Birches on 55th and Clarendon Hills. Those are our 2 spot-on competitors. They have assisted living and memory care in both facilities. We don't really compare to Burgess, Westmont Nursing Home, or Manor Care. And this relates to 2 things, parking and traffic. What we've tried to identify here is, I'm not privy to the staffing at any of the 3 nursing homes here. Obviously, it's not our industry, but we are able to get from other nursing homes in the Chicago area, their sizes, their staffing requirements, which is really what drives parking in a skilled nursing facility as well in assisted living. Again, in neither case do the residents or in skilled nursing patients drive. Parking and traffic will really be determined by the staffing that works in that facility and how much turnover there is. So as you can see, there's 3 skilled nursing facilities that we were able to get some information about, 100 beds, 96 beds, 140 beds. You can see the staff at the low end would be at 65 during the day, at the high end up to 120, and at night staff, the lowest one we've seen is 19, with the high end at 80. That compares to our proposal, where we have a daytime staff of up to 25 and a nighttime staff of 5. We're vastly different from the skilled nursing facilities that are in the Chicago area. Question, of course, would be how do those 3 examples compare to the 3 facilities in Westmont? All I can do is compare by beds, in which case we have Manor Care here has 155 beds, so would be more or less comparable to that 140-bed skilled nursing. Westmont Nursing Home has 166 beds, and Burgess Square has 206 beds. So I think it'd be reasonable to assume all 3 of them would be at the higher end of the traffic and parking requirements, and might explain why you're having some significant issues with those facilities. Again, we're trying to identify here that we're almost an order of magnitude different in terms of traffic generated and parking required for the facility. Just for your reference, I think it's in the package, this is our detailed staffing plan. We do this for all of our facilities. If you get into the details on this, our maximum parking requirement at any given moment on site is 27 spaces. That would be the daytime somewhere between 8 a.m. when the second group comes in and about 3 p.m. Our earliest shift starts to leave, our later shift comes in, and then our parking requirement drops off to about 23. Question can be raised in terms of our staffing. Are we anywhere near what assisted living staffing would be in the rest of the industry, or are we just somehow lowballing our numbers? This is a comparison of our staffing with the national average. We are running about 7 people greater in our overall staffing than what the national average for a like-kind property would be. So we tend to be staffing a little bit heavier than what you would see in the industry. What I can tell you, because Sunrise is a national player and we all kind of know each other in this industry, their number is within 0.4 of our number in terms of staffing for a like-size property. So we are very similar to that project. This is the graph we gave earlier on. These are our other assisted living facilities in the Chicago area of similar scope. As you can see, we've gone through with the aggregate parking numbers, the aggregate units, and our parking ratio, with the point that what we're trying to demonstrate here is that the parking ratio and aggregate number of parking spaces that we're providing is higher than we've done in any of our other facilities. Over the 17 years that we've been operating, we are not experiencing issues with these facilities. Having said that, if you don't care to believe us, Sunrise of Willowbrook has 64 assisted living units, 11 of which are double occupancy, so they're at 75 people, 75 unrelated people. 28 memory care beds, including some double occupancy. We don't have those numbers. They have 56 parking spaces. Birches has 58 assisted living units. Again, in this case, we're not privy to how many of them are double occupancy for unrelated. They have 32 memory care, and they have 50 parking spaces. In your packages, and I've named the zoning administrators of both Clarendon Hills and Willowbrook. They have both gone back to check with their code enforcement groups. In case of Clarendon Hills, the zoning oversees code enforcement as well. In case of Willowbrook, she's had to go back to code enforcement in the other department. Neither of these facilities, both in business for over 10 years, have caused any issues in those villages. In other words, they are not finding that their parking is short for the facility. We're proposing 75 units, 32 memory care, and we have included in the front portion 60 parking spaces, and we also have land bank 10 parking spaces to the back. With that, I'd like to introduce Dave Destur, our architect, who will kind of walk through the building briefly.
Good evening. Again, my name is Dave Destur. I'm with Jensen & Halstead Architects. Bob pointing out, we'll come back to this in just a little bit. I'm going to give like a 50,000-foot overview of what the plan is for the building. If anybody has any questions or wants to dig in, feel free to ask. The site plan, 63rd Street, is along the top of the plan here. We've got the parking up in the front and trying to heavily landscape as much as we can along the sides, along the back to screen the neighbors. And then again, there's fence all the way around to the east, south, and west sides of the property to help screen the neighbors there also. The first floor plan, there are actually two entrances. There's a memory care entrance that's over here, and the assisted living entrance, which is directly fronting on 63rd Street. Coming into the facility, you walk into a living room, bistro area, administration off to one side, a exercise area off to the other, main dining. The area over in the center here is kind of back of house. You've got the kitchen, laundry, other back of house areas, and then in addition to that, we have a fully enclosed dock area that is capable of taking a full-size semi. During deliveries, everything is completely hidden from view along the front of the building. And again, we're not taking anything around the back, which is typically where the deliveries and the kitchen and stuff are, so that we're shielding the neighbors from that type of stuff. Over on the left-hand side here is the memory care unit, which we'll get into in a little bit greater detail in a minute. Second floor, for the most part, is apartments on either wing, with a wellness center going in, as well as some activity space. And the third floor, very similar, two wings of apartments with a really nice activity space looking off to the front, and then a chapel theater in the middle. One of the variances that's requested on here is the allowable size of the building. Going by your zoning ordinance, our building is actually smaller than what you guys require. The main reason for that can be easily explained. The apartments for the assisted living are just that. They're small apartments. They have a kitchen, a living room, separate bedroom, except for the studios, and a bathroom. The residents here are fairly independent. They need help with activities of daily living. They might need help getting dressed. They may need help bathing, help with their medications. So, but other than that, they're, for the most part, pretty independent. When you get over to the memory care side, very different type of residents. And you'll notice the units here are all studio units. They're a little bit smaller. The impetus in this type of unit is their units are used mostly for sleeping. 90% of the use is sleeping. When they're up and about, the idea is to get them out and get them socialized. We've got a main dining for them, separate dining, library, living rooms, other living rooms, and other activity spaces. The idea is to get them up, get them engaged. Our firm does a number of Alzheimer's only buildings, so the entire facility would be Alzheimer's. To give you an idea, the average square foot per bed on those units that we've done is about 530 square feet. Pathway on this one is actually upsizing to about 740 square feet per bed. They're very excited about the programs that they've got going on here. They're looking to be the best in the industry. If you go back and look at the apartment side, between what we've got for the apartments and the first floor, using the Village's formula to take out some of the common areas, like the bistros and stuff, you don't count against that square footage. If you look at it, we have a 116,000 square foot building in total, not including the dock. We're required to have 114,000 square feet per the Village ordinance. If we back out the Alzheimer's area over here, using the Village's requirements, we require 80,000 square feet for the rest of the facility. For the 75 units, we are currently at, I think, 84,447, which is 106% of that requirement. So for the main apartments, which I believe the zoning ordinance was developed for, we actually exceed. It's the memory care portion that brings that down a little bit. And again, they're about 30% larger than what we've been doing for the industry as a whole. Again, the elevation from 63rd Street, they were looking for something a little more on the traditional side. We've got the mansard roofs with the main gables. And the 3-story actually came about after the August meeting. As you can see from the second floor here, the original building had 2 floors going all the way around, and we actually had 3 fingers on the back. The residents were concerned about the view from the back of the facility into their yards and into their homes. So we went back in, and what we did is we shortened up these fingers on the back. We originally had 20 feet here, we're at 35. And again, I think we had 22 or 24, we're at 28 feet off the back. And instead of making the entire building 2 floors, we cut back. We made this portion 3 floors and 1 story to the areas that are facing the residents back on Nelson and Bay. And to give a little bit of an idea of what the massing is from the backside, here is a view kind of from the backyards up high above Bay and Nelson to see what our building looked like here. So the 1-story portions came down and this came up slightly, but again, along the homes, really no high portions. And what we did to kind of help the neighbors understand a little bit too is there had previously been approved for this for Bella Reeve, the townhomes. And we took the plan from the townhomes and replicated what they have on site now to give you an idea of the massing between. If you go back again near the homes in this area, very low out of the way. The townhomes are much closer up front. I think the 22-foot setback on this piece here. And again, you're going 28 to 30 feet high right away on the townhomes. If you're looking right down the backyards along Nelson Lane, this would be the view. And what we did, we put in, this fence will be solid, just to kind of give an idea of what the landscape is in front. It shows a little bit better leaving it open. But this is the view with our project. This is the view with the townhomes. Again, as you can see, the difference in the massing and what's up close to the neighbors is very, very different. Directly from the backyards of Nelson looking out, again, we're 28 feet to this piece. I think we're 35 feet to the piece that's further over to the west there, or 110 feet to this bump out here versus 20 feet on the townhomes. And this is actually from the backyard, corner backyard of Nelson Court, looking up to the northeast again. Again, significant difference, or about 120 feet to the one-story portion, and the townhomes are right up against. So.
Thanks, Dave. So in a couple of our comparisons here, and we're getting very close to wrapping up, a couple of our comparisons here, there is an existing project proposed, the R4 townhome project, as Dave explained. So we've also compared not just the physical plant, but some issues related to traffic and stormwater, and wanted to respond to one or two of the comments that came up in zoning about the need for assisted living in this area. This is a comparison, again, in your packages, of the 36 townhomes that are currently zoned for the property that we're interested in purchasing. Coincidentally, both traffic studies were done not only by the same company, but by the same individual, about 4 years apart. The 36 townhomes, morning peak hour traffic coming in is 4, out is 19 for a total, you can see, for a total of 23, evening peak hour of 26. That compares to our property of 15 peak hour in the morning and 24 in the evening. In other words, our peak hour traffic is less than the 36 townhomes would generate. A lot of that has to do with our staffing would be spread out over a couple more hours than, you know, a bunch of people going to work all at the same time. But what it does, I think, indicate is that that our property would not generate an enormous amount of traffic, has been suggested, and as you have experienced with some of the nursing homes. A question came up in one of or a comment was made in the Planning and Zoning Committee that the occupancy of the nearby assisted living facilities is only 70%, and mitigating any need for additional assisted living. I'm not sure where that came from. There is a trade group, there are several trade groups in our industry, one of which called the National Investment Council, which is the trade group really the investors in assisted living. They collect data on all the members in the industry. They publish that data. Any one of us would not want our own property published. You know, it's a little bit proprietary, so they can aggregate a group in a particular area. The area that we're interested in, that we're looking at, is the area bounded by I-88 and I-55 on the south, 294 to the east, and 355 to the west. These are the properties within that area that have assisted living as a service. The map may not show it, but what is clearly not in that group is Manor Care, Burgess, Westmont Nursing Home. What this does show you is the occupancy of the properties, of that group of 7 properties in this box is now pushing 95%. 95% in our industry is probably something over full occupancy. Essentially, if a resident moves out on the 30th of May, probably you can't bring a new resident into the 1st of July, so you have a vacancy for that month. The point of this graph is why we're interested in this area, why why there is a need for assisted living in this area. The current group of properties is operating at very close to full capacity. That's including Sunrise and the Birches. It's also including the assisted living portion of Cordia and several other facilities around here that are CCRCs, which is a completely different product, but a continuing care retirement facility. These are the big senior campuses that have all sorts of products in there, skilled nursing, assisted, independent living, and senior cottages. So this is the assisted living portion of the providers in this area that have assisted living. I'd like to introduce Dave Schindel. The other major issue that came up was stormwater, and Dave will try and address that.
Yes, good evening. I'm Dave Schindel. I'm a civil engineer with Mackey Consultants. We've been working on the site design of this, so I certainly can be available for questions or discussion about all of the other aspects of our site design, but I have been asked to focus on just a few key items relative to the stormwater drainage of the facility. As we've described in the earlier Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, this is approximately a 3-acre parcel. It is within about a 4.5-acre development that was originally all intended to be a townhome development. The existing vacant portion that Pathway is planning to develop generally sheet drains from the north side, generally south to southeast. And what you see on the screen is a graphical depiction of the pavement roof areas versus the green impervious grass areas that the previous Belle Reve townhome development provided. Our development is intended to drain in a very similar manner to the proposed Belle Reve townhomes. The sheet drainage is going to be picked up in catch basins and storm sewers and routed to a storm sewer along 63rd Street that was constructed as part of the Belle Reve townhomes. Our drainage will connect to that and can be conveyed as intended when the 4.7 acres was originally designed to the Muddy Waters detention facility to the east. Do you want to just give me an up arrow then, Bob? Thanks. For comparison purposes, the Belle Reve townhome percentage that we graphically showed in the earlier slide was 63%, or about 83,000 square feet of that 3 acres. Very similar, but certainly a little bit more, 69% of impervious area is proposed, which is about 91,000 square feet. Again, trying to graphically depict that for you. We've been able to survey and confirm that the existing Muddy Waters Pond, as previously constructed, does have the capacity for the required stormwater detention for this site. We've had conversations with Bob Fleck and confirmed that our project does not have any intention nor need to modify their pond to provide more detention. I want to point out that one of the side effects that is a benefit of this project is that by picking up the sheet drainage that now currently sheet drains to the south, that drainage will be picked up and no longer contribute overland flow to the rear yard swale and storm sewer of those homes along the south side of our property, and it will instead be conveyed by storm sewer to Muddy Waters. In addition, in that larger rounded green space to the southwest of our building, we will be adding infiltration rain garden space to absorb and infiltrate approximately 10,000 cubic feet of water that was not previously proposed as part of the Belle Reve townhome as an effort to further reduce the runoff from this site. Again, we're available for additional questions and are glad to assist as needed.
I think that wraps up our presentation. I appreciate your time and attention. I'm sure there's public comment as well, so thank you.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is open it up to the public, and if you would please come to the podium one at a time, state your name and address, and we'll try to limit your comments to about 3 minutes apiece. You could be first. Come on up and, again, state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Hassan Al-Khatib. I live in 616 Nelson. First of all, I want to thank you for seeing us, and also want to thank the zoning board for their negative vote for this project. And I want to thank you very much for donating for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I have been on the board since 1985. I am a chemist by trade, so I appreciate the beautiful presentation the engineers they did and the architects, and I have nothing against the developer. He's a nice guy. I might be a customer for his down the road. However, his project has been rejected by everybody in the community and has been rejected by the zoning board for many things, which is you all aware of it. And I don't want to be redundant about what the mailing has gone to you, but we just came in from the community to present everybody in the community. We're against this project. This project is not a good project for us, and I'm sure there is other property in Westmont. This project can be used there and be utilized. This project is a hazard. If you drive on 63rd Street anytime with the traffic, it is very hard. And adding more there, plus this is no privacy for us. Our privacy will be zero because we don't know when ambulances are coming in 24/7. We are adding to this project. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Josh Hearn. I live at 612 Nelson Circle. Along with Hassan, we've gone to all the zoning meetings and everything like that, and the zoning board has ultimately, unanimously shot it down, along with, I believe in the packet you guys have received. We went around and with a petition with all the neighbors, and everyone shared similar comments to all of the neighbors in the community there that they don't feel that this is the appropriate project for the development or for that site. A couple of comments. Obviously, you guys have all the main points, and like Hassan said, we don't need to beat a dead horse. But in terms of the parking, it's probably what they're stating. I'm not going to argue isn't true on a day-to-day basis. That the parking there is probably adequate. When you come up on a holiday, though, as we all know, we have grandparents, parents, everything like that live in these assisted living centers. You're going to have family that will go to visit them, whether they're picking them up or whether they're going to spend the holiday there with them. The parking that's there is not adequate to handle those certain instances, and what it will do is it's going to create havoc in the East Charles Street, which is the townhomes existing. You're going to have a parking nightmare along there as well as along Virginia. The other thing that didn't get brought up was snow removal. So when Dave was up, explaining the plans on there, we didn't talk about the fire lane that surrounds the entire facility. So, they have no room for snow storage on site. So they'll either have to haul it off, which is extremely expensive. It's about 5 times the cost of regular snow plowing. Otherwise I don't see any other option. They're going to block the fire lane or eat up parking spots, which just creates bigger issues. Everyone's covered the density already. The economics of this project, I think, is a little bit short-sighted. I think, yes, we can sit here and think that there's going to be an influx in tax dollars out of the gates, but from a long-term perspective, especially with, you're going to have a Mariano's at some point down the street. You have local restaurants, everything like that. Residents that are staying in an assisted living home are not walking down the street. They're not going to local restaurants or anything like that. So it will have, if you were to have townhomes there as opposed to an assisted living home, it's going to have a different impact on aspects like that. The only other question I had for Dave, and you may have to come back up here to pull up one of the plans, but you had talked about the truck dock. Yeah. And I was just confused as to, how you would maneuver a truck back out of there. Just the ingress and egress of a semi-truck.
That's more the other
based
day.
on the, okay.
Yeah.
Direct your questions to us.
Yeah, there you go. So my understanding is this is the truck dock here.
Correct.
So I assume you can have a truck come in, swing in here, but then there's no way that they would be able to circle out and get back out, and this is too tight of a radius. You'd be hopping the curb or hitting the building if you were pulling out there, so. I don't know if you.
Graphically, it may be hard to describe, but we did certainly do, some auto-turn vehicle analysis, and it may be that it wouldn't be a single sweep out there. He may need to do an additional movement on the way out. It may be that we could depict that for you and provide that to Kim Nickel in your engineering department.
Sure.
That'd be fine.
Okay, yeah.
One comment, perfect, Josh. Yeah, sorry, thanks. We do design, in this case, we did design for the worst case, which is a full-blown semi. Our typical delivery, food service, supplies, everything, our panel trucks. But the point's well taken. It is designed to be able to accommodate a semi with some staging up at the north end. Thank you.
And then my last comment was just regarding, all the traffic counts that they portrayed. Again, not going to argue, they're probably accurate, but they're also not accounting for the ambulances and the emergency vehicles that are going to be necessary to come in and out of an assisted living center. So,
Thank you.
that's all I have.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Johnson. I live at 604 Nelson Circle. So this project is immediately across our back fence. I emailed some reasons to the board. If you didn't get them, I have some hard copies here for you. Did you get this copy?
We did.
Downloaded? Wonderful, thank you. The only thing I can add to what Hassan and Josh said is that if most people think they need to turn right as they exit this project, and they really want to be going west, they'll have to use our side streets to flip and go around. And if they're arriving there in the morning and they're coming from the east and can't make a left turn into the project, they'll again use their side streets to make a flip so that they can come in from the west and make a right turn in. So I think it's going to increase traffic on the side streets as well. And it's right about that same time when kids are boarding school buses and could create a problem that way. Other than that, I agree with my cohorts, but nothing else to add.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom Nelson. I live at 1239 Virginia Drive. I'm here basically to voice my objection to the project. Everything, I don't want to be redundant, but for the most part, the reason they're asking for the zoning requirements is because they have to make it economically feasible for themselves, but the constraints that they've put on are self-imposed, which means that in order to create their project, they need to, in order to create their project and make it profitable, they've made it larger than the zoning for that area allows. I'm sure all the engineering has been done. I'm not going to question that. But the visual from flooding, anybody that's been down 63rd Street knows that that floods Muddy Water Park, floods on a regular basis. Every year you get the flooding. And yes, eventually, I'm actually looking at assisted living places for my father right now, which means probably I'll be doing this at some point in time in the future as well. But I've lived at Virginia for 18 years. I've been in the village for 19 years. I bought my house at the same time that they talked about putting in the waste transfer station right on 63rd, which was, had I known that, I would have not lived there. We also have residents that bought townhomes and expected to be in townhomes in a townhome community. And now that is now being taken away from them. And we were not extremely delighted when they said they wanted to take and put townhomes in as opposed to single residence, because that was rezoned for townhomes not too long ago. So you know, the townhomes were an acceptable piece. Wasn't extremely happy. I would have expected, you know, single-family homes, but that was not necessarily a great place based on the way everything was developed. So townhomes made kind of the most sense out of anything else. So why don't, I'd just like to say, keep it zoned for townhomes, and let's get a development like that as opposed to something that the community does not want. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to address this agenda item? If not, then I will close the public comments and look. One of the thoughts is that this evening we're missing 2 trustees, and because of that, we may want to wait until those trustees are here to allow them the opportunity to see tonight's meeting, and then maybe then be here present when the vote is taken. I'll leave that up to just a thought, because 2 of them are missing. But this is a good opportunity for the trustees if they have questions now.
I guess my question to John is, what was the original zoning for that property where the townhomes are?
Well, once upon a time, it was R3, as I recall. Then it was rezoned to R4 for the townhomes, and now it's a rezoning request from R4 to R6, which is a special residence district to accommodate a project like this.
Then I guess a question to any one of the residents who wants to answer would be, let's say Mariano's goes in, the TIF district's doing well, a lot of businesses going in down there, redevelopment, and somebody comes in with a townhome project, if this one doesn't get approved, and wants to finish up the townhomes. We saw possible drawings of what could be in your backyard with the townhomes butting up around it. And I've driven around looking at townhomes enough. That's pretty much what you see. It's a small backyard because of the amount of property. One of the complaints I heard from the residents was that there would be too much building and people looking down into the backyards, there would be no privacy. I see that as almost worse than what size-wise, building-wise, and, you know, monolith right there, closer to your property. Is that something that you could live with? Because if that happens, I just want to know, or future board, or who's ever sitting on the board at that time, is that the residents are in favor of the townhomes that would be coming there versus this. So if a townhome does come in there, then there's really not going to be any complaints from the residents. That not that the design wouldn't have to be looked at, but if somebody wants to put a townhome in there, you guys would rather see that. Just for my own personal information on that.
Yeah, because what townhomes have been zoned for.
Right, they could go ahead with that right now.
They could go around
without a
that.
variance, correct?
However, the prior development did get variances for density, I think for setbacks, things like that, things that were necessary to make it economically viable. I think this developer's kind of in a similar position to make this economically viable, needs a few variances, needs some exceptions. So there is going to be some board control either way. It's not going to be, hey, if we've got multifamily, you have to approve it.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
And I think just to piggyback Trustee Scott's comments and to the residents, the traffic on 63rd Street, as I think the current board would envision it, is we would like to see an increase there. You know, we'd like to see more businesses on 63rd. We'd like to see a Starbucks. So I think that traffic may be coming whether this project happens or not. I think that a lot of that is going to be beyond all of our control. And I think hopefully if the TIF works out like we hope it will, the traffic will increase there, whether that lot stays vacant or not. Again, just a comment, not a, lean one way or another.
Just with the Marianos, there's parking for 500 cars, and there'll be 400 full-time and part-time employees there.
And at that point, we didn't hear from any of you opposing the Marianos, which is going to increase this traffic way more than this project would. And so that's where I would just like to defy that. Well, we don't know what they'll do when they leave, really.
As a note, it was my understanding that when this was originally going to be a Lowe's down in Mariano's, there was going
Can we have you come up to the microphone so people at home can hear you? Thanks so much.
Yeah, that, and you know what, After this one, I think just let the trustees make their comments,
Right.
because we really shouldn't be going back and forth with the public. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right.
It was my understanding that when it was originally scheduled to be a Lowe's, there was going to be a widening of 63rd to accommodate the extra traffic.
Not the
traffic
whole
on
way, not the
60
whole way down 63rd, just immediately in front of
A turn
the
lane, right?
proposed Lowe's development. There's just an extra lane in front of the development that extended
Yeah.
Hopefully
west
from Cass.
touch
That's,
in the opposite direction.
that's been,
or
it's
east,
been a
I'm sorry.
nightmare for 3 years. So.
I have to say, I remember when this project came before economic development. And when I see it tonight, it's much different. There's been a lot of concessions made. You've, I think, really jumped through hoops to make it more palatable for the neighborhood. As Trustee Scott sort of alluded to, future boards, we talk about townhomes, but a future board could end up approving something commercial there. That zoning could end up being changed and be another store. If the TIF takes off, these are things that are realistically possible, not probable, but very possible. So I think there's a lot of things to consider. I agree with the mayor. I would prefer to have a full board, and I would really like to hear their input and their thoughts on this project before I vote.
Absolutely. I think we represent more of the community by doing that, because I know Trustee Nero doesn't live far from there, and so I think we do represent more of the community if we have a full board. So
I did broach the topic with the developers prior to the meeting. I think they had a fair response, which is take whatever action gives us the best chance of approval, depending on the absent trustees. And I said, I don't know how these two are voting. I don't think the mayor knows either. Very fair comment. But they don't have a time deadline that would prohibit them from, like, a continuation won't hurt them from a timing standpoint more than they've probably already been delayed quite a bit.
And another thought is not to delay this, but for us to even continue to educate ourselves and get the full board. And one of our trustees was former mayor, which has been involved in a lot of different zoning in the community, so. Trustee Barker.
I've got, quite a few questions here as we talk about educating ourselves. And I want to make sure that if we do vote on this, that I, vote the right way. The R4 can only be townhomes.
Incorrect. Can actually be single family up to multiple family. It can be apartment buildings.
It can be condos.
Correct.
Okay. Related to, and this is probably for Jill, related to Muddy Waters Park over there and the things that we hear about water detention. Where are we with the capacity in Muddy Waters Park? If we add this to that, and I know Bob looked at it, and it will handle it, but are we 80%, 70%, 90%? Where are we?
I may be better equipped
yeah.
to discuss that. It was mentioned tonight, but it has been a reoccurring topic when this development's discussed about the stormwater management's concerns at Muddy Waters Pond, but more specifically, the recognizing that how much water crosses over the top of the pavement in a strong storm. So there's, to me, or to, an engineer, there are two separate issues. One is the impact of this development on stormwater management, and secondly, that there, there is a problem down there, and I don't know if problem's the right word. It is a feature of what is happening down there. And Muddy Waters Pond is, in fact, it is a detention basin. There's two detention basins on that parcel. There's the one that they were describing as far as storing water up on the parcel that was closer to, part of the parcel that was closer to Virginia. And then the open water pond itself is actually part of the St. Joseph's Creek alignment. So St. Joseph's Creek comes from as far away as Falcon Place, cuts, so from the east side of Cass, goes all the way through the piers, if you can picture that, then across the soccer fields at Bellarive Park, and through Williamsport Village, And all of that pond is part of the creek alignment too, and then the muddy water. So when the water is overtopping 63rd Street, that is in fact the flow in the creek going over and under 63rd Street. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, other than that's by design, because you cannot block the creek capacity. The road itself is a DuPage County highway, and they, so the design of the pavement and the mention of the Lowe's and the mention of the Marianos and the features here are all controlled and regulated by DuPage Highway, DuPage Division of Transportation. And they are the ones that require these traffic studies. They are the ones that dictate the widening, that based on the impact, what has to be done to their road. And as things come in, they will require certain features, whether it's widening, whether it's a left turn lane, whether it's turn restrictions in and out of the driveway. So we don't really, I don't want to say we don't control that, but that is an interest of a different agency, and they reviewed this, and they're, prepared to issue a permit for, this development based on that traffic study. So going back to stormwater management, they described the storm sewer in the previous development, and they actually pre-built storage down by Muddy Waters Pond, and it's the part where it looks like a wetland restoration. That is all that detention basin, and that already has the capacity in it to accommodate the impact of this development. And they were accessing that and providing other stormwater management on their property. So I don't know if that helps answer it, but it's already built. It's not the
You can't look at it.
they owe the
as a-
property owner still some money for the right to maintain the storage on that property, but being the park district, but the stormwater management, I mean, they're being held to, as strict, if not a stricter standard that any development would have.
And you can't really look at it as a percentage of a total, where it's,
So the pond was purpose-built for the development on the site, being when it was townhomes all the way across there. Then they explained the differences between what they're proposing and what was proposed.
right.
And the engineer testified under oath at the public hearing, and Kim Nickel from the village was here to support it, that there was sufficient volume in the pond to accommodate this development. What it wouldn't prevent, as Steve said, is like the watershed runoff
Right,
across.
right, I
66th
saw all
Street.
that,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, none of this is going to fix any of that.
Steve, before Bruce goes on, when you talked about the 63rd Street being county jurisdiction with Mariano's, they've also agreed to put in a additional
They have to
stoplight.
widen the road significantly in each direction to accommodate a center left turn lane for the development, and they are putting in a traffic signal based on the traffic impact projected. Now, they welcome that. They wanted a traffic signal, but still it was a decision for DOT.
Okay. I'm sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
No, it's okay. When you have a facility like this, can you change your occupancy? Like you have a couple of units there for double occupancy. You can't take single occupancy and then 6 months from now turn that into double occupancy.
They can become a requirement of the zoning, certainly, and not allow us to do double occupancy. We've designed this for the number of units that we have, and not trying to double up. It's not where the industry is going. It's probably the biggest distinction we have with Sunrise down the street, because back 10 years ago, there was a lot of double occupancy in the industry, and it's moved significantly away from that now. And certainly memory care is moving very rapidly away from any double occupancy, so we're designing without double occupancy.
And can we prevent that?
Yep. You can make a
Okay.
condition of the.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then the last question that I would have for the developer is, can you talk about your snow storage in the wintertime? Not that it's going to snow here this year. but-
No, we've never had a problem with snow. First of all, we have the fire lane does go around the south side of the property and stop. We've met with Larry Kaufman and have designed the fire lane to the requirements that the fire department has for their needs there. And they primarily need to get to where we have points of egress. They have also agreed to allow us to use grass block, which essentially, it's not grass block, it's the grass pave. From a visual standpoint, it looks like a lawn. You don't see the pavers at all. We have allowed for snow storage on the north side of the property. You know, our parking lots to the north and the east. We have a fair amount of space to the north and west that's undeveloped, along with basically kind of a dead end. Should we ever have two trucks at the same time, we have a place for staging. Beyond that is our capacity for snow removal. If need be, we will remove the snow from the property. That is going to be even with last winter, you know, that could be a once or twice in a season thing. And we've done this before, and I mean, obviously, we've been operating these things for quite some time. While I have the floor for a second, all of our suburban properties, I believe, I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, but I'm pretty darn sure all of our suburban properties are landlocked. In other words, there is not overflow parking on the streets in the neighborhood at our suburban properties. Not true of the city, of course. There's, you know, neighborhoods all around us. So we've lived with those parking ratios year in, year out, holiday in, holiday out. And the holiday we're concerned about is not Thanksgiving, it's Mother's Day. That parking ratio would be sufficient year-round. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Bruce? That's it. Any other trustee comment? Is it the pleasure of the board then to postpone? Have a motion to postpone till December, the next meeting be December the 11th?
I'll entertain a motion to, or I'll make the motion to postpone it till the 11th.
Yes,
Second.
that's our next meeting.
11th.
It would have been
Second.
Thanksgiving, but.
We can if you want.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Trustee Seneca, on the question. Anybody have a comment? And roll call, please.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Again, for the residence developer, it'll be back on the agenda on the 11th, right here again, starting at 5:30 meeting. Thank you.
Hey, Mayor, I don't know if you want to give direction, like that they don't have to do the full proposal presentation again, or maybe you want them to give the full presentation again, but maybe.
Can I come late if they're going to do that?
No. Well, you know what, it is recorded, so our trustees that are not here will have the opportunity to watch it, but I would say be available for questions that they may have.
Certainly. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Moving on to new business B, parking restrictions, Wilmette Avenue. Board to consider an ordinance to restrict parking on Wilmette Avenue from Rosewood Court to Trabe, including Rosewood Court east of Wilmette Avenue. Chief Mulhern, the floor is yours.
Parking restrictions in the residential area south of Naperville Porsche be considered to address parking concerns. Time restrictions of either 2, 3, or 4-hour limits should be reviewed. Employee vehicles and trucks and loading vehicles in the residential area have caused traffic issues for residents. The restrictions of parking will affect both local businesses along the residents in this area. This has been an issue that has been affecting this neighborhood probably for the last 5 to 6 years. We're pleased to report that the old hotel property, which is located just west of Napleton Porsche, has recently been purchased by Napleton Porsche. And they have now relocated a lot of their vehicles, their employee vehicles, all the vehicles that were parked on Wilmette Avenue and on Rosewood Court have now been relocated to their new property, the hotel property. Drove by just the other day, and almost all the spaces in the hotel lot are packed, and there are very few, if any, cars parked on Wilmette Street. There are none south of that I've observed the last couple of days. No vehicles have been parked south of the Napleton Porsche property, and definitely not into the residential area like we've had before. Another positive side note on that is I also saw a truck unloading a car, and where before they would be unloading on Rosewood Court or unloading further south than Wilmette, was up closer to the Napleton Porsche and not affecting the residential areas. So now that we have that situation solved, we would still like to install parking regulations on Wilmette from Rosewood south to Trabe, and then also on Rosewood Court itself. The question is, what would the trustees prefer for a time zone? I do know there are 2 residents here who will probably speak. I spoke to Mr. Owinski yesterday, asked him what his preference would be. and asked, for a time limit. If we go 4 hours, employees still may return and park there, and they could come out at lunch, move their car, go to lunch, come back, stay for the other 4 hours, defeating the purpose. 6 hours, a little bit too long. 2 hours, how would it impact the residents in the area? And we spoke, and he says most of the houses in the area have longer driveways, so residents shouldn't be parking out front. And the restrictions only be Monday through Friday from during the daytime hours, not on the weekends, so it shouldn't affect the weekends.
Chief,
the
are
residents
there
that
any
way.
other areas in town that have the 2-hour restrictions?
Not that I can, I'll defer to Acting Manager May on that, but not that I can recall. Most are 4 hours, and the 4 hours area, Mayor, are in the areas adjacent to the railroad tracks to prevent from commuters parking. Yes.
I know we have a section in the code for 2-hour parking, but I can't recall where the locations are. There are not many.
There was an area over by Harrelson's Garage and the permitted parking area over that way, but that was always in dispute as well, too, and I'm not sure if those signs are still
In front of the barber shop?
There may be a couple.
By the Uptown, I think that's 2-hour parking there.
But in residential areas,
Residential.
in residential areas, no, not that we can recall.
With the hotel being purchased, we don't know what we're assuming 4 hours should work, but
Actually, if they have a place for their vehicles, the issue should go away by itself, but we did mean to, address the parking issue, and they were waiting. We were going to address this last at the October meeting, but we knew they were making plans to, do this acquisition and move their vehicles. So it's a good time to put the restriction in place, although it's likely that there's no further issue.
For right now.
Yeah,
Would you like a
correct.
motion?
So
I mean, there's
It's
not,
the best time to address it right
John,
now.
would you like a
and right now, we don't have any restrictions on that. It's just open parking. Okay.
Do you want a motion on the question, though, or?
If somebody would
Or are we
like a
just gonna
motion, then we can
discuss?
do the
Well,
question.
I
Yes.
agree with Chief, that I think the 4 hours, if 3 makes it better for the residents, but the 4 hours, you could still, in theory, just park there, go to lunch and park there again and do your 8-hour shift. So I don't feel that the 4-hour really restricts much of anything. I mean, if we have 2 on the books or if it's 3, it feels that would serve its purpose.
2 is, we go 2, 4, 6. I don't think we have any 3-hour.
It says 3 on here. It says either 2, 3, or 4-hour limits.
Just as far as existing code sections, there is a 2-hour category.
4. There's no 3.
Okay.
2 and 4.
It's a mistake. There's 2 and 4.
6.
Okay, 2, 4, 6.
Okay. That's what this said, 3.
So do I have, and then on the question, I'll have public question it, but do I have a motion any way that,
Motion to approve, Barry?
or what?
Oh, we were going to do that now? I thought we
yeah.
wanted to discuss, for 2 hours then, I guess, if there's no.
Motion's been made,
I have
but
another question on that.
anybody can second it?
Second.
Who seconded it? Okay, motion made and seconded to put 2-hour restrictions on the question.
Not questioning the 2-hour limit, but when we do this, it's typically 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. So is that the intent?
I think
of
that
this
would be,
motion?
the intent would be to follow on our same. All right, on the question, anybody from the audience? Comments, questions? All we ask is please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Patricia Willis. I live at 213 Rosewood Court, and I just want to thank everyone here. I know this has been troubling for all of us. Definitely have noticed a difference since they did purchase the motel. The only exception would be today. So it would just be a coincidence. But when I got home from work today, there were I think there were 8 cars parked on Wilmette. But, huh? Well, so anyway, I think that putting the restriction in is necessary for 2 hours, and that's what I would concur with you, Monday through Friday. And the only thing is, just making sure that it's enforced. And I just want to thank the board members for all of your attention to this matter, because it is important to us, and we want to make sure that we're safe, and that, God forbid, any of us have, a house fire, that we can get the fire department down to accommodate us. And As long as it's Monday through Friday, and if it's 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., we were thinking more 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., but that's fine, whatever that works. But I do think that it needs to be able to be enforced. The only other thing is with Porsche, when they do have their events, I don't know if restricting the parking, they really take over much of Wilmette and our Rosewood Court when they have their events, so I don't know how we can address that. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
In talking with the new manager, Jeff, they didn't anticipate having any more events like the previous manager had going into the future. That's not to say that they can't have them. He just didn't anticipate any, and they're trying to move their events to other venues. But something may come up. I will reassure with him our process that we had before, whereas if there is an event coming up, if he could let us know, we'll let the neighbors know. The parking restrictions would stop at 6 p.m., so if they had something past that, you're back to that situation. But I don't think they've had many within the last year. But we will work on that and/or see if we can close the streets off like we do now. As I told Mr. Wincy yesterday, the general manager, Jeff Whittam, is a completely different type of manager. He's willing to work with the community, and is Napleton as well by buying that property. So I will work on that. As far as the enforcement, we'll make sure our officers know about it. Of course, if you see something, give us a call. Let us know there's a car there. Our officers can come there. As far as today, the 12 cars, I don't know what that would be. However, there were cars parked just south of Ogden Avenue up to the driveway of Napleton, which, when we talked to Mr. Whittam earlier, had said that were probably from employees of dealerships across the street. So we're thinking of not changing any parking restrictions on that right now. Let's do your area, see how it goes, and then revisit it in a couple
Chief,
months.
While there's been a special event in the past, the hotel was not in their control before, so that's going to be available for any special event parking too.
We would hope so, yes. And they've also, did off-site parking where they did shuttle buses back and forth. And so we'll try to make sure. But he did not say they will not have any, but he said he's moving towards not having any, so.
And the hotel's going to be demolished and there'll be additional parking.
Right, for those, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't know what their plan is or their time frame for demolishing the hotel and paving and getting their parking lot set up, but they need to look into the future and make sure they have plans for when the people can't park there during construction, so that they don't all end up on Wilmette again. So I think we need to work with them and kind of nudge them that when they're going to start knocking that building down and doing all that work, find parking for your employees, because we're not going to,
Right, well, that's
we're
why
not
we
going to
want,
allow them on Wilmette.
well, that's why we want to get these restrictions in place.
Yeah.
And he knows that and is agreeable with that, so.
And I think to the residents, I think we've all been working on this going on 20 months here now. I
Long
mean,
time.
we've really been on this, and I don't think we can guarantee you a perfect situation, but we really hope to improve it for you. We've listened to your concerns there all along, and we really, we felt for all of you. I think all of us tried to make some kind of resolution and not lose a car dealership in the process. you know.
Right, and we want to be good neighbors, and I've seen a concerted effort by even, while all this was going on with some of the guys that were coming down Rosewood Court, where in the past they would speed down and circle around, and they're going slower, which is a good thing. I mean, they got these sports cars, so I understand that they are going slower. The other thing is, in case anybody hasn't noticed, is Elite Repeat. They put in, they used to have that parkway through, you could drive through close to the motel. So they actually this week put landscaping in so that nobody can drive through in front of Elite Repeat. So they put big pine trees and they're putting grass down. So I think that they were kind of looking at anticipating this whole thing too. So, definitely we've seen improvement, and we just want to say thank you.
And I do have to say, when we had meetings with the manager and the development, just right before they purchased Porsche, and their plan is, even while they demolish it, and they want to demolish it as soon as they can, they're going to demolish it in such a way they're going to still have parking while they're doing that. So they're never going to eliminate all the parking on there during the construction.
But I think your point's well taken too, is when they decide to use that space where the motel is, they have to be able to designate quite a few spaces for employee parking.
And they did indicate to us in their plans they're going to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Bill Iwinski, 512 North Wilmette. Everything that you guys said, I agree with. I appreciate it. You guys, in 10 months, did more than the last village board has done in the last 6 years, and it is greatly appreciated. I did watch planning and zoning yesterday in regards to, I think the chairman had an issue about them talking about stacking cars in there and having some of their inventory in there too, somewhere down the line, and there were some issues about the lighting. That'll be all addressed whenever it gets done, but I just want to say thank you, because it took a lot for you guys to get this done, and the first day they parked over there, I drove down the street and went, what's wrong?
Yeah.
There was not a car on the street. Again, today, there were 12 cars parked there. I don't know. I do like the idea of the restriction because Trustee Addington talked to me a couple times, and he found out that there are other dealerships employees that park there. So you get rid of Napleton, the other cars that are there are from across the street. So if you do put the limitation on it, at least it'll keep them out of there too. And the other thing, in regards to someday our street will get repaved, I don't know what century, but it will get repaved, and there is a lot of damage that's been done over by the gully in front of them. So I know that limiting some of this, it'll help that street, because if you look at it now on that end, it's really bad. But I just want to say thank you. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Again, I'd like to show us your appreciation that you are patient with us the last couple months.
We appreciate
allowing Portia to make some improvements. So thank you.
I must say a lot of the work goes to this man.
Yeah.
He did a heck of a job.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank
He's
you.
an asset.
Any other, the attorney's got a comment.
The resident mentioned this would be Monday, parking restriction for 2 hours Monday through Friday.
Right.
And the way it's written is that it's all days of the week. And you, of course, can change that. We have some 2-hour parking restrictions that would be every day except Sunday. The dealerships are open on Saturday, so I think the restrictions should probably apply on Saturday also. But if you want to exclude Sunday.
And holidays also?
I think holidays are going to be a problem.
Sundays and, I should have clarified, they exclude.
Sign's going to be big.
They operate on
Illuminated.
holidays.
To do a handout.
They operate on a Sunday. So I think it would be a Sunday only.
They do need it on Saturdays, because I've driven by on Saturdays, and the situation that happens on the weekdays is there on Saturdays. You are correct, the dealership is closed on Sundays, but the residents would need it in relief on Saturday as well.
Yeah.
To the motion or just the clarification?
So that's just clarification.
Is the
So just a
clarification, your
clarification.
motion was Monday through Saturday?
Yes.
Yes, Monday through Saturday, except Sundays and holidays.
Okay.
Well, what they said is the dealerships are open on the holidays.
Yeah.
So any Monday
So-
through Saturday period, no matter if it's holiday or not, we're going to have the restrictions. Is that what
I would assume if the residents have a lot of people over for Christmas, that the police aren't going to be enforcing that hard on those days? Is that
We
what I would
also
assume?
allow them to call and get they could call,
They could
just
call
like
and get an
overnight
extension.
parking, and explain that they have it.
Yeah, yes, if the residents call and say, hey, it's Thanksgiving, the 2-hour thing, and I will tell the residents, if someone gets a ticket, and give me a call, or give one of my staff members a call, and we'll work something out, that we're not, or if you see the ticket or see the officer, I'm sure we can work.
Well, and the officer is going to look and see if Porsche's open, and if they're closed and there's cars on the street, they'll know it's the residents having a party.
Right, and that's why, the
Yeah.
2-hour could be, but no, we will work out those situations when they come.
Okay, but Sunday.
The only day that is not going to apply is Sundays.
Yes.
Any other time on Monday through Saturday, no matter if it's a holiday or not, your motion was that restrictions are going to apply. And the second.
My motion was.
And the second said the same thing. Any additional questions? Trustee Barton.
Sounds like a plan.
I just want to make a comment. And we talked about, looking for additional parking for car dealerships north of Ogden Avenue, just so that we don't lose that now that we think this is over. And then, having all this congestion and activity at these car dealerships is good for our community. That's the economic engine up there right now. And whatever we can do to help them, we need to focus on that too.
And I do have to comment that Larry Forsberg and staff is always looking for available land for the car dealers.
One other quick question in regards to where the signs are going to be placed. There's not going to be any signs north of Rosewood? Because there's a strip for that, there's a vacant lot right there, and someday somebody's going to build on there. It's at the corner of Rosewood and Wilmette. So the signs are just going to start from Rosewood and go south? Or is it going to go from the dealership where the curb is from the Rosewood development?
That's up to staff.
I know, because it says in
Proposed
the
this and
bulletin, it
suggested
says,
it, when it says Rosewood, to not be confused with the center line of Rosewood, it's the Rosewood Court development. So the north frontage of that development, that first 50 feet would have the same restriction, but there will be nothing towards Ogden.
Thank you.
All right, can I clarify, because I wrote it up in the ordinance the way the agenda's written. It says the parking restriction is on Wilmette Avenue on both sides from Rosewood Court to Traube.
That's what we suggested.
Detailed clarification, 150 feet north of Rosewood Court, south to Traube.
Would it be better from,
Defeat the purpose if you only went to Rosewood.
how about from Porsche's south property line? I don't know if that makes a difference, but that pretty much would be the same area. I think that's the 50 feet we described. There's telephone poles, there's overheads, which would be their south property line, south.
That's what your motion was, too. Isn't it?
That's exactly what my motion was.
Your motion's very detailed. I like that. It keeps growing in detail. It's amazing.
You getting all that?
So basically, they're going to look at right south of Porsche's property line.
Correct.
So, okay.
Why don't you put where posted, and I'll just.
Yeah, how about where posted?
You're right, John. Any other questions? If not, Monday through Saturday, 2-hour restrictions from south of Porsche down to Traube.
And also including Rosewood Court.
And Rosewood
Yes,
Court.
yes, definitely, Rosewood
Yes.
Court, yes.
I'm looking, roll call, please.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
We'll put those restrictions up. New business C, temporary storage pods, text amendment. Board to consider an ordinance approving a text amendment to the municipal code to streamline the requirements regarding temporary storage pods. Acting Community Development Director Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor. The Building and Zoning Committee discussed this change at the October 2014 meeting and made a positive recommendation to amend the code. The amendment was reviewed by Planning and Zoning Commission last night, and they had a positive recommendation with some minor changes, which Attorney Zemanek has incorporated into the revised ordinance. The text amendment will no longer require a $250 cash bond, and the language has been simplified. Staff recommends approval of the attached language, and the draft committee meeting minutes were attached to the board members' packets.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve, Barry.
Second, Barker.
Motion been made to approve as presented. On the question? Anybody in the audience? No, none. Roll call, please.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. New business D, liquor ordinance modification. Board to consider ordinance to modify Chapter 10, Section 10-36 of the Westmont Code of Ordinances in order to add language to Class 1 through 4, which will allow the retail sale of alcohol in its original package for off-premise consumption. Deputy Liquor Commissioner Gunther.
Thank you, Mayor. This request is in response to several inquiries from local businesses. Further background of the subject matter is that Westmont currently has approximately 60 liquor licenses. Approximately half of that, 30 licenses, are Class 1, 2, 3, and 4. We have currently 7 businesses in town that allow for both on-premise consumption and off-premise consumption. This will essentially level the playing field for those restaurants to allow for off-premise sales. 2 examples that I can give you to clarify. Neat Restaurant would like to start a takeout meal service and include alcohol sales, wine and beer as part of those meal packages, very similar to what Standard Market does with their meal to go and their ability to sell off-premise wine and beer. And additionally, Jimmy's Island Grill would like to sell their world-famous Mai Tais to go. They do have a takeout area, so they're very interested in being able to sell both at the restaurant and to people that are coming in for a meal and leaving with the Mai Tais. So that's the request in a nutshell. The one sentence that will be added would be allow for the retail sale of alcohol in the original package for off-premise consumption.
And that's only in conjunction with carryout?
Excuse me?
Only in conjunction with a carryout meal, or
It's not in conjunction with a carryout
it's
meal.
not in conjunction?
No.
Okay.
So, in other words, if I went to Westmont Restaurant, who has a liquor license, and I said I want a six-pack to go, they can do that now? They would be
Correct.
able to do that now?
They cannot.
Not currently, but with this change, they would be able to.
Yes. Like Bishop's Chili has a Class 8, which allows for both on-premise consumption and package to go. So the five Class 8, just for examples, is Bishop's, DJ's, Potbelly, Walsh's, and Uptown. So they currently have the ability to both serve on-premise, and people can walk in, buy packaged alcohol, and walk out the door. So this is essentially leveling it, and it's with restaurants trying to increase, generate sales, increase their businesses. This is kind of leveling the playing field for what we allow in certain classifications. Other the classes 1 through 4 would like that similar consideration.
So Jim, well, go ahead.
Do those seven, do they pay additional money to have that now, currently? To have that double classification? Say like Bishop's, do they pay extra to have that carryout and?
That's a good question. Currently, a Class 8 license is $3,000 annually. Class 1 through 4, Class 1 is $3,000. Class 2 is $2,500. Class 3 and 4 are both $1,500. In the way that the restaurants are classified is based primarily on occupancy. Class 1 is in excess of 200 people capacity. Class 2 is 75 to 200. And then Class 3 is a restaurant with a service bar only. And then a Class 4 is a restaurant with that only serves beer and wine. So it's hard to make an apples to apples comparison the way the classes are written up, but.
But in the future, if they did, obviously this levels that part of it also.
Which part of it?
If it costs them more to have the retail and a regular liquor license, this would now level that? I mean, that's overall my question. Does Bishop's Chili pay more money to have a retail license than, let's say, Neat that doesn't have it next door? Obviously, the occupancy is different, but.
Yes, I would say that for that comparison, Bishop's would be paying more money. I'd have to look and see what Neat is for their classification. I believe they're probably a 2.
So while you're looking at that, so Jimmy's Island wants to sell Mai Tais.
Yes.
How do you sell is it bottled already? Is he gonna have them bottled and he's just gonna be able to do it like a bottle of champagne or a bottle of wine or something like that? Or how do you do?
Can you seal it?
He said in a gallon container, which was the way he designed it. And that's how he sells it in other restaurants.
Okay.
So
he packages it?
he packages. Yeah, it'll be in a
That's what
plastic
I'm
container.
looking for in the mix.
Instead of-
Right, plastic
It
container.
would be sealed,
correct.
and the seal couldn't be broken until they went home with it.
Yeah, correct.
Not a cup.
So it's
Until
not
they
like
break
you,
it.
it's not like you take your empty milk jug in there and say, fill it up.
I hope not. No, that's not.
But in theory, that's kind of what the brewery does though, right? I mean, you bring those jugs
Well,
back
that's
and forth,
different.
right? So I
Correct.
mean, in theory.
And also for BYOB, which we have very few of, but
Right.
same premise, where if you bring a bottle of wine in, they have to package it so it can't be open, so you can transport it home. So all the laws still apply for transportation of alcohol, as far as putting it in your car and taking it to wherever it's going. And then Neat Restaurant does have a Class 2, so they're paying currently $2,500 compared to what Bishop's is paying $3,000.
Okay.
And Deputy Chief, Class 4, which allows for the retail sale of wine and beer for consumption on the premises only, would only allow for the carry-out of wine and beer, not...
Correct, not for all liquor, yes.
No Mai Tais.
Do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved, Seneca?
Second, Scott.
Motion made and seconded. Additional questions? Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
New Business E, Class 20 liquor license modification. Board to consider an ordinance modifying the Class 20 liquor license to allow for the retail sale of wine along with on-site wine tasting. Deputy Liquor Commissioner Gunther.
Thank you. Staff received a request from Urban Legends Brewery for this modification. I have Jason Hancock in attendance from Urban Legends to talk about this request. And Shannon's coming up too, so we have both the Hancocks coming up.
She's the speaker.
She's the speaker? Okay. Essentially, they put in a request for the retail sale of wine to level that playing field for people that come in that want to drink craft beer, but also bring a partner in that wants to drink or enjoy a glass of wine. So this is expanding that classification a little bit to allow for that. And I will turn it over to Shannon and Jason.
Thank you very much for hearing from us this evening. As you are all aware, we recently celebrated our one-year anniversary and certainly have learned a lot in a year. And one of the things that we have come to recognize is that in an effort to try and serve the needs of all of our customers, we would like to have an option in addition to the beer that we produce. While we're busy trying to convert all those wine drinkers to beer drinkers, we would like to have something to offer, as Chief Gunter mentioned, to spouses or other people who are coming in with a beer drinker who potentially are not interested in consuming that beverage. So we really think that this is a great complement to our current business and that it would give us an opportunity to continue to grow our brand and our loyalty, our customer base in Westmont. We have people that come in before or after a movie. We have people that come to celebrate a birthday. And while the birthday person may be a beer drinker, not all of their guests are necessarily. We have corporate events that want to come in and use our space. Again, the business owner might be a beer drinker, but they may have staff that is not. We would really like to have something to offer to those customers other than a bottle of water.
I just want to say thank you to the board and Jim for putting this all together for us. Thank you very much. To what Shannon was saying, that is, one of the things we're trying to do is build our tasting room, and we feel that, specialty wines will help with that also. We haven't picked a line of products we're going to do with wine yet. We were waiting for the board to approve this so we could research that and come up with a nice selection for people. So if any board member has a selection of wine they want us to carry, let me know. So,
Ginny and
thank
I
you
will
very
help
much.
you with that.
Yeah.
We'll be happy to come over.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved, Scott.
Second, Seneca.
Oh, okay, motion been made and second. On the question.
Just to be clear, on the agenda where it says it allows for the on-site wine tasting, it also says the retail sale of wine. That's the sale of wine that's package sale of wine bottles to go, not
From
for
their
consumption
distributor.
on premises, correct.
Not for consumption on the premises, correct?
Correct. They will have both options.
Both options.
Yeah.
The way this is drafted.
Glasses, and then we'll sell
So
bottles.
if you drink something that you like, you can.
And again, back to that liquor license that they currently have. Do they pay the same as a restaurant and a bar that also has that consumption on premises? Or wasn't that modified when we originally did that for them?
For Urban Legend?
Yes.
Or for the Class 20? I can look at this.
My understanding was it was not for on-premise consumption. I thought it was just for tasting, was supposed to go on there.
It's, sure, the way that the ordinance will be written is that it'll be, beer is for tasting purposes, so there's a set amount, there's a maximum limit you can go to, which will, and the wine will also mirror that. So we didn't want to have you have the ability to just taste beer or have a beer tasting and then be able to drink as much wine as you wanted. So there is also a cap for the wine as well, so. Tasting.
I've thought this for a long time on your particular business, that that this liquor license has a lot of flexibility on that classification. And I think that maybe when it comes up for review, that we need to take a harder look at it as far as consumption versus tasting. You know, if, are we selling there or are we just tasting there? Because I guess I get kind of lost in, you know, if somebody's just coming there to buy beer, why do they need wine to taste? If they're not really, you know, consumption on the premises was never really our goal there. Correct?
Well, it was designed as a tasting room.
It's a
So,
tasting.
up to so many ounces. So that's what the law said, that, you know, the code that.
So the wine would mirror
So,
that requirement?
Absolutely.
Correct, and it's still incumbent upon the business to serve the appropriate amount of wine, not to exceed the limit, and certainly not to serve to the impairment of the customer. So, you know, which is true of any business in town.
so the big difference between our tasting room versus a bar or a restaurant you're talking about has a full liquor license. They can serve whatever they want in any capacity, with a limit to, you know, the person.
So when I see those Friday nights, like when the pizza guys are there and all that, like, I still can't buy a glass of beer.
So the tasting room is designed to allow a maximum of 48 ounces of consumption of beer, which, you know, if you think about that, would be like 3 pints, versus going into a bar or restaurant that has a different classification where you're really limited strictly by state intoxication law. Our setup is very, very different in the limits and how we monitor those limits. And it is designed as a tasting room. And again, just, you know, really looking to meet all of our customer needs by allowing some wine tasting as well, and a person could potentially then have an off-premise
Again, those are
bottle.
free tastings.
No.
No.
They're not.
No,
You charge for that 48,
Absolutely.
and then that's
Absolutely.
consumed there.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I would just say that, you know, your logic behind this makes perfect sense to me. The fact that you have to have another option there for those folks, just like you described it. I've been there and I've seen that. You know, and I do understand Trustee Barry's concern, you know, where, is it turning into a bar or a restaurant or whatever? Maybe in the future it does, but for now it is this tasting room, so.
They're satisfying the license requirement, right? They're
Right.
staying within the...
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Any additional comments? If not, roll call, please.
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
All right, there'll be wine there then.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
New business F, proposed aggregate property tax levy. Board to consider a motion determining the proposed aggregate tax, I'm reading slow because Spencer's not quite moving too fast, levy. I'd ask Finance Director Parker, could you please come up to the podium, and
Who redesigned this thing?
floor is yours.
It's absolutely horrible.
Get a buzzer that alerts them.
Good evening. So wanted to kind of, first of all, walk the board through the timeline for the property taxes. I know that for many board members, this will be a review. We kind of talk about this every year. We've talked about it at the committee meeting, but I just wanted to kind of go over it again for the benefit of the board and also for any of the public that are watching or that are here. So the timeline with the property tax is that at this point in November, we will approve the aggregate levy, which is the total amount of the property tax that we anticipate levying. And then in December, we would actually pass the levy. And then in March, we will actually find out how much we'll be able to receive from the levy. And we'll be able to know the property tax rate that our levy will be charging to the residents. So that's information we don't have until March. We've been able to put together some guesstimates that were in your board packet. And the way that the property tax levy works is you ask for an amount, and then you can never get more than you ask for. You can, in fact, get less than you ask for. But if you don't ask for the full amount, you will not receive it. And the amount that you can receive is based on an inflationary increase for all the current property and then also any new construction that gets built. And so historically, the village has tried to levy a high enough amount so that we're able to receive all the extra benefit we should get from all the new construction that occurs. so that everybody's kind of paying their fair share. So you have in your packet, and then I'm putting up on the screen right here the proposed aggregate levy summary. And you may not be able to see the numbers very well, but I'll kind of go over them for you. You can see that in 2013, the village had a levy of $6.1 million. The library had a levy of about $1.7 million. And then if we were to look at levying the same revenue, so to say we didn't want to take the tax increase, we didn't want to do the inflationary increase, we didn't want to get any more for any of the new construction, if we just stayed exactly the same, then what would end up happening is we would have to reduce our money that goes into the general fund. We've got several different sources that our property tax goes to. You can see them on the screen. We have our IMRF pension, our police pension, our liability insurance, Social Security, ambulance, and fire service. And those are the items that are covered under the property tax levy. Because, as you're well aware, the pension costs go up each year, we have to take most of the money that we're able to get from inflation from the new construction and put it towards increases in our police pension. And that would be the case this year as well. If we decided to not take any of the increases but still had to increase our police pension, then we'd be looking at reducing our general fund by about almost $76,000 in additional cuts to services to the residents. Instead, if we levy the full amount, which is in the green, we would be doing a levy of $6.4 million with the expectation that we would actually be getting right about 6.2, almost 6.3 million, which is in the blue column. And so if you look down at the bottom, it shows the impact to the average household, and you'd anticipate that with the expected amount that we anticipate charging, obviously it's all based on guesstimates, but the expectation is that it would cost the average resident about $12 more a year, so about $1 more a month. And that's the anticipation. If we levy the green, we expect to get the blue. So right now I've got kind of looking for direction on two areas from the board. One is in the dollar amount. Are we in fact going to levy the amount that's listed in green for the 6.4 million, which represents about a 4.5% increase over what we had previously? And then if that is the case, if that is the amount we're levying and we're not levying a higher amount than that, the second question will be regarding the truth in taxation law. If the village levies more than 5% of an increase, the village is forced to publish in the paper, and you're well aware of what goes in the paper. It talks about, focuses on the green column, sort of the amount that we know we're not actually going to receive. One of the discussion points at the committee meeting when this was presented was the idea to, instead of publishing that full document in the paper, have a smaller, cheaper ad in the paper that simply informs people of when we'll be discussing the levy and invites them to come to the meeting where they can get the information. It was felt that that would actually end up being more transparent than publishing an amount that we know we're never going to get. So I kind of would like the board's thoughts or directions on both of those aspects, and what's actually before you tonight officially is the adoption of the levy, but then also we'd like kind of direction as to how we want to publish it.
When I met with, when we had a committee meeting, by putting an ad in the paper, you're still being transparent. You're still telling the public that you're going to address this, and they have to have questions and comments to come to the meeting. And there's a considerable cost savings from printing the bold print and the requirement. And again, from our standpoint, if you don't recoup the money, the CPI and new growth, you'll never get it. I mean, it basically lowers your threshold in your cap fund. So you want to, and my guess is, I think staff's guess is, the actual increase will be about 3% this year, if that.
Yep.
Yeah. You know you're going to get the 1.5. Did we have a percent and a half new growth?
Just estimates from the assessor's office.
Yeah. So the chances are of us getting 3% new is probably reality.
Right.
My feeling is the notice in the paper would be sufficient, because we're still going to have a public meeting, public hearing. They'll be able to ask questions. So I think staff recommended that too.
Yep. Yeah, I feel that would work.
John, other communities? Is there any preference that you see out there that whether doing the small ad or putting it all out there, or is it?
I haven't heard, I'm sorry.
Okay.
In the other communities that I represent, I know they're not exceeding the limit and doing the big ad, so.
If
that's
you
just
don't go over
one example.
105%, you're not obligated to do it. I think this board has always felt that they need to at least put some notice in the
Right,
paper.
right.
And I think we'd be more than, we don't even have to do that. I think that would be, and putting on our website, telling people to come could be the other thing too.
Yeah, I would encourage people to come.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you put the whole, 9 yards in the paper, it's very complicated. People don't understand it. It's hard, this way, in person, they come, they can ask their questions, we can explain it. It's complicated. It looks different than what it really is.
And we're saving money.
Yeah.
What a concept.
If there aren't any further questions about that aspect of it, I did want to also mention that the property tax levy that the board will be approving includes the property tax levy from the library. And Julia Cohen, the library director, is here to kind of talk a little bit about what they're looking at doing with their appropriation. If there's other questions first.
Just one, Spencer.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about this annual impact of no more than $1 a month, is that a maximum? And I know you're probably being conservative with your numbers, so would that be a maximum that people could expect?
Yeah, that's the estimate, kind of our best guess. If we wanted to look at it in March and say, if it turns out that it's more, we could convene a special meeting to, rebate it so that it doesn't turn into more than that. But at this point, it's all a guess, and that's kind of all we can do at this point is guess until the county gives us the figures in March.
Well, it'd be somewhere in that neighborhood. It would be.
It wouldn't all,
Yeah.
it wouldn't jump to $5 a month, no.
Right.
No.
It's going to be real close to that, and I think he used past history and projection.
Right.
Yeah, and obviously it will vary by homeowner because some homeowners have seen in their assessed valuation that it's going down this year. Some are seeing that their assessed valuation is going up. So obviously if some are going down and some are going up, the people whose assessed valuation are going up are paying not only the inflationary increase that everybody's paying, but the amounts that their neighbors are no longer paying because theirs have gone down. So it really will vary from resident to resident, and it will vary based on size of house and all of those. So it'll be different for everybody, but that's our best guess for an average estimate.
Okay, thank you.
We get to hear from the library.
I'd like to point out, we also have a library trustee here tonight, Jason Fichtel, so feel free to save all the tough questions for him.
Trustees defer to
So on October 21st, the library board approved the levy request for $1,839,120. For us, that's a 4.9% increase. We did that also to capture the CPI and new development, and it would equal about $86,000 more for us over last year. As you know, as Spencer just said, we're probably not going to get that amount. It'll be capped at a lower rate. But briefly, I just wanted to mention if we do get any additional revenue, it's going to help us fund some facility updates. So this fiscal year, our circulation stats have increased by 11%. We've had over 12,000 people attend our programs. And to meet that need, I know it's great. To meet that need, we are developing a master plan with an architect, and we're going to implement some upgrades over the next several years as the budget allows. So we are looking for feedback from the community. So next week, every house will receive a community survey. And so we are kindly encouraging everyone to send that back to us. It will help us prioritize the projects as well as other patron services and some grant money we receive from the state for literacy. So it's very brief. I just wanted to kind of say we appreciate your support, the community's continued support, and if you have questions.
And Spencer, with the library, and this library is part of our levy. We have to levy for them. That their fund is considered cap too, right? It's one of the cap funds, so they can only go up by the CPI. Okay.
That's correct.
And
Yep,
the new
they're
growth.
subject to the tax cap as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any?
I'd just like to congratulate her, you and the library, its successes in what I think is library is becoming one of the premier libraries in the area.
Oh,
with the
thank
programs that you've got, the amount of people that are going in there,
It's amazing.
It's come a long way. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Good work.
I will pass
It's
that on to
amazing.
staff who.
If I
are
could-
the
Arrow
ones
is
who-
definitely pointing up. I know our family we love the library, and it seems, again, like it's a premier one in the community.
Oh, great, thank you.
And just to echo that, I think the one thing I have seen is that the library now is becoming part of the community. I mean, reaching out and getting involved in the community, which I think is very important.
It is.
So, and you-
We've tried hard, and it's the staff down there making that a reality, so I'll pass that on to them.
Yeah.
When you got to try to find a parking space, that's.
Right.
That's good.
That's a good problem to have.
And
Yeah, it is.
Spencer, do we need a
Motion.
motion to, and you want to review your recommendations that we're going to make a motion for?
Sure. So we're going to be making a motion to approve the proposed aggregate levy in the amount of $8,265,332.
Okay, do I,
So move Seneca.
Second, Parker.
motion made and seconded on the question. Anybody from the audience? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Okay, you just stay there. All right. New business G, for eating tax amendment. Board to consider ordinance adopting the following amendments to the places for eating tax. 1, an extension of the due date to the last day of the following month. 2, a clarification that prepared food and drink sold for immediate consumption are included regardless of whether it was prepared on site. 3, a clarification that vending machine sales are not subject to the tax. And 4, a clarification that seating includes chairs and bar stools as well as tables or counters where people sit, stand, or lounge to consume food or drink. Finance Director Parker.
Okay, so as the board's aware, this has been discussed at several of the last Administration Finance Committee meetings. And sort of the way that it came up is we were looking at an annual review of the places for eating tax, and we're looking at comments and questions that we'd received from businesses. One of the common concerns businesses had indicated was the difficulty of getting it paid by the current due date, which was the 20th of the following month. And so a lot of them had ended up paying it a couple of days late or close to the end of the month. And so to try to help out our businesses, we decided it would make sense to postpone that due date to the last day of the following month. So for the taxes on food that's sold in January, then we would say you have until the end of February to remit the taxes to the village, just to try to give them a little bit of a break. We also found that there were a couple of questions and a couple of things that we found were kind of being applied a little bit inconsistently. Some people interpreted it one way and some interpreted it another. And specifically, the big issues were with regards to the preparation of food. So as you'll recall, food has always been described as including food and drink, including alcoholic drink. It's the way the ordinance was originally written. But it specified prepared food prepared for immediate consumption. And there were some entities that thought that food prepared for immediate consumption would mean there was some question about whether or not they actually prepared the food or they just served food that somebody else had prepared, and so did they really have to report that? And the clarification, so we're making the change in the ordinance to make it very clear that whether or not you prepared on site, it still counts as food prepared for immediate consumption. So the biggest one that we'd had the question about was regarding the sale of alcohol. So alcohol that's sold at a place that allows people to consume on the premises will in fact be taxed, and those people that sell alcohol for consumption on the premises will need to be sure that they register for this places for eating tax. Because we realized there was some question about it and the wording may not have been completely clear initially, we are kind of doing a grace period and saying we're not going to enforce that aspect of it until the beginning of January. So for these items that were in question before, if an entity was not sure how they were supposed to have been treating it, we're giving them until the end of the year to get their system set up so that they can start taxing it. So they will start taxing it in January, and then we'll begin remitting the tax to the village in February. We do want to make clear, though, that for any businesses that have already been collecting the tax, they still need to remit that to the village. They can't have collected the tax from patrons and then just keep the money for themselves. They need to remit it to the village. So if an entity has already realized and understood that alcohol that they purchased from somewhere else is something that they needed to tax and have already been taxing it, they still need to remit that tax to the village, as they have been doing. I guess that kind of sums it up. Again, they're really mostly points of clarification. The only change from intent in the ordinance is the change with regards to the due date to try to give an extension for these businesses.
Everything else is just kind of
Yeah,
clarifying.
So then just to clarify, like a place like Urban Legend,
Right.
they have to pay now because
Yes.
you can consume there and you can just buy alcohol, you can't get food.
Right,
and you
that's
can-
correct. Yes.
Oh, do I have a motion?
Motion approved, Scott.
Second, Parker.
Motion been made and second to approve as presented on the question.
I have a couple questions. Larry, has any conversation been had with the downtown businesses about the places for eating? I know they have agendas and meetings and things. Are they aware that this might have additional impact on them?
There hasn't been any discussion about the proposed changes, and basically it's been clarifications about dates and timing. But no one's brought up the topic at all
Yeah.
since the discussions have started.
And that if we approve this, it would be immediate, right?
Actually, as Spencer commented, because there have been some.
February?
Yeah, it would be end of this year, so January 1st, they'd have to start complying with the clarifications to these definitional issues. If someone did not know that alcohol was included and had not been paying the tax, they'd have to start by January 1st at the latest, so their first payment would be due end of February.
Yeah. Well, I would recommend that we talk about that with them at some point soon, if it is approved. And then the other thing is, what do you do with a business like Thornton's, where they have tables, standing tables there, a place like that? I would guess that they would think it didn't apply to them.
So we are in the process of reaching out to some of these entities that have not responded to explain why it doesn't apply to them, and kind of clarifying with them that if they do have places for seating for the consumption of food that they prepare there, or that is prepared for them to eat there, then it would count. So if people can buy the hot dogs and sit down and eat there, then they would need to be subject to it for the sale of those items.
But if it's a vending machine,
Right.
that's all they have, fine, that doesn't.
No, but like Thornton's has donuts and
No, they have-
coffee and
yeah.
tables to stand at.
Don't they have
Good
like hot
stuff.
sandwiches and stuff?
Yeah.
It would apply.
Right.
Yep, so we'll make sure that they know that it applies to them, and, yeah.
I will say that this is, and my colleague who's not here tonight, Trustee Addington, said this thing's like an octopus. It just keeps reaching out. It doesn't, it seems like it went from a places for eating, where I was under the impression of food consumption. Then we heard from ice cream owners that, they were getting it, and now, some of the bars have said, well, we'll stop serving food, not to pay on everything. Well, then now it's also including just alcohol. And I know that that's a minority of our businesses out there, but it seems like our places for eating tax has extended more so than what I originally voted for.
It's a bit of a misnomer, I think, to call it a places for eating, and that kind of mirrors some of the language in the statute. But when we polled other communities and presented this, I think the intention, maybe it wasn't as clear as it should have been, was that this was to capture food and drink served on the premises for immediate consumption.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Spencer, just as out of the businesses that we know should be complying with this, do we have any that just have not to this point?
We do have a couple that have either not paid at all or have made just a couple of payments. And so we've been working on drafting a letter to send out to all the businesses, assuming that this is approved. If this is approved, we'll send out a letter to all the businesses, letting them know of these clarifications. And then along with that letter, we'll be sending additional letters to businesses about their specific situation. So we'd be saying, you've missed this payment and this payment, you need to comply, you need to make these payments.
Have the businesses that should comply with it added that tax to their sales tax, to their register? Have they been collecting it?
I don't know for sure. I think that many of them have. I know there's been a couple where, I've gone and eaten and they do have the tax, and we've been contacting them and reminding them they need to remit it to the village. And then we had some of them, apparently there'd been a breakdown in communication with the accountant, and we had one of them bring in a whole bunch of old dated checks that we couldn't end up cashing because they were too old, and somebody had been preparing them and thought somebody else was sending them to us, and it was a big mix-up. So there's been a couple like that we're working through, but
No
we'll be
one just
verifying.
has downright refused to.
No, nobody has told us that they believe they should be collecting it, and yet they refuse to collect it. Nobody's told us that.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
And do we still have businesses paying the home rule tax?
We still have a couple of businesses that have not yet found out that they need to not be paying the home rule tax. So if any business is paying the home rule tax, they, should double check with the state and see their new tax rate is that they don't need to be collecting that. But we do continue to receive a little bit of money from the state each month from businesses that are still paying it. We don't know.
And they've been
who they
notified
are.
already?
We don't know who they are.
I
Don't
don't
notify
know.
them.
We don't know who they are.
Oh, okay.
We don't receive information from the state as to who's paying it. I believe they've been notified by the state. I know the state had sent out letters. I believe the state sends out letters a couple times a year reminding all the businesses, your tax rate may have changed. Please check online to see what your new tax rate is. Yeah. If we go and, happen to find any businesses that are charging that, or if any get reported to us by our residents, we'll definitely let them know that that's what they, that they should stop paying the home roll tax.
You need to go to every business and get a receipt.
Receipt.
Spend money there.
Yeah.
Let's track them
We
down.
know that the chief and the deputy chief go to all the eating establishments.
Okay.
Any,
We'll
any
start reviewing
additional,
receipts.
any additional questions? If not, we've had a motion. Can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Barrett?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
New business age, standing committees of the board. Board to consider ordinance to name the following as standing committees of the board: Public Safety, Administration, Public Works, Community Development, Finance, Economic Development, and I don't know if we left off Westmont First. Is that an official committee now?
Well, that's a good question. It is a committee, but not a committee of the board.
Okay.
Which of these would be board committees? I
Okay.
don't know if that makes a difference.
It is in the ordinance. I'm sorry, I'm pulling up the ordinance right now.
Because the Environmental Improvement Commission's like that too,
Commission.
right? It doesn't need a.
Yeah, it's kind of a separate subsection. It's listed in that same ordinance 2-33. And there actually was a typographical error where one of the participating members, it was listed as School District 58. I don't know how that,
No wonder they're not coming to those meetings.
yeah, and it should have said School District 60, which is Marker. So part of this ordinance corrects that oversight also. But as far as the standing committees of the Board of Trustees, Westmont First is not one
Okay,
of them.
so it's only the ones that I just mentioned. And what we're trying to do is, as the standing committees are restructured, a new rotation schedule will start with the new calendar year. And I've got committee assignments that we would approve next meeting with the chair and the co-chair. And I think I asked Acting Manager May to talk about, and I think everybody has in front of them a description, because he's kind of consolidated these committees.
Yeah, we started with the need to do the chair of each committee and initiate that rotation. And at the same time, as long as we were rescheduling this, and then the question came up about what were the committee meeting dates be in 2015, because we have to start publishing those. And since the rotations are two-year rotations, you have a forecast in here of what the actual two-year dates would be. It has unidentified chair and vice chair for each committee, and then whatever staff liaison members would be part of that committee. The committees themselves we've been using them for a long time, and have learned some things that this is a good time to make some adjustments too. And one example is that the Admin Finance Committee meeting is big agenda, and we have a lot of special meetings that we call because we have additional business that we need to do that. So one recommendation here is to separate the administration committee from the finance committee and have them be separate committees. Administration would be all issues, HR, communications, IT would fall under that category. And then the finance committee, because it is often in the form of monthly reports, that it would be a shorter monthly meeting that would occur on a more frequent cycle so that you could introduce those and have that information on a more regular basis. And then similarly, pairing up the number of trustee chairs with the number of committees, keeping with 6 committees, or 7th being the Public Information Committee that the clerk chairs, we have a lot of the business between the Code Enforcement Committee and the Building Zoning Committee overlap, and we discuss it both, and we're suggesting that we combine those and call it a Community Development Committee. So those are the 2 significant changes. This was all prepared, and we were close to being ready to approve this tonight, and it's not that we can't approve it tonight, but we do have the Economic Development Committee has a structure where there are a lot of appointed, not staff, but resident and business resident participants, in addition to the liaisons from the different school, representatives from the different school districts and library and such, that they have not all confirmed their interest, and that hasn't been established yet. So that's really maybe the only thing preventing us from acting on this tonight, but I wanted you to see it. I wanted feedback from what you think about it, but only my recommendation, I think it's appropriate to do this at the December meeting.
Do the appointments, but we could pass the ordinance to restructure this tonight.
You could restructure it tonight if you wanted to announce committee assignments. We could do it tonight, and then we could amend it in December for the Economic Development Committee if you wanted to. I will say because we have to publish the dates and the timelines with like Neighbors Magazine, we would like at least confirmation that you're comfortable with the frequency of the meetings and the schedule as posted, because we would want to publish that as soon as possible.
And I think staff looked at this with myself, and I think they've got a nice schedule put together. And again, one other comment with the committee meetings is that I think the intention is to kind of keep our time frame the same with what we've been doing at the 5:30 start until after the election, because there very well may be that not everybody can make the early start, and we'll readdress that at that point.
Well, I can't make the other ones, they don't care, so what's the difference? But I do disagree with combining that code enforcement and building and zoning. You know, building and zoning, I don't feel it has accomplished a lot, and I've been the chair of that committee. I feel that code enforcement has made leaps and bounds from where it was 20 months ago with Bruce's leadership, and I think to take away from that, or to divide that meeting in half, takes away from all the things they've accomplished. And I have some concern there of combining those 2 meetings. How many times do we have to rush out of there because we can't get to everything, because we have these before the board meetings? So I would have some strong opposition to combining code enforcement when, we've just made a dent in really what a lot of us feel we need to keep on with. The alley program's just starting, and a lot of these programs are just starting. I can't see where combining those and having less input is going to help those programs.
Well, no, I appreciate that, and we're not looking at this as less input. We're looking at, a different way to think about it is having both those meetings on the same night. If it's a matter of, picking a better start time or allotting more time for it. I will say, yes, a lot of good activities come out of the code enforcement, but we also do spend a lot of time like with updates. And as part of this committee structure, we've gone through the shared documents, and then people can see where the status of different things are, and the update portion of code enforcement can be shorter. I'll also say that when we first talked about this, that concern was echoed by staff as at least a concern, to think about. putting them together.
On one hand, we're saying administration and finance is too much of a commitment when we have those combined. But then here we are with committees that really can never get to all their agendas, but we're going to combine those. So that just doesn't make the most sense to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could comment on that. I appreciate the compliment. I think code enforcement is running very well. We've made, I see progress there. I think we've got it staffed now beautifully, and I think that those people are good. There's more to do there, but I do think that because it has consistency and momentum now, that maybe it'll require less work and become more routine. So I'm optimistic that this would work out, but I share your concern. I mean, we're still gonna, at least, I know I am, I'm gonna still make sure that that piece is focused on and handled.
And again, my recommendation for that committee would be Bruce chairing it.
Yeah, I just, this is only convenience and not the factor for making the decisions, but you also currently have 7 committees and 6 trustees and a clerk that chair these committees, so the balance of how many committees, other things that were taken into consideration is that as new as the board is, it's going to be even newer in April, and finding good fits for new members coming on as well. So that was all part of the thinking process, but I'm glad you're pointing this all out, because this was why we wanted you to see it and comment on it before we actually acted on it.
We should wait until the next meeting to act on it.
Right, I guess I would only ask for, if there's any initial thoughts on the dates, because I'm not sure what the neighbor's deadline is, or do we pass it already?
Tomorrow for publishing what will go out for December and January.
I guess you can't publish it unless we know if we're changing the committee names and combining
Yeah.
it, so.
We do it later.
So that doesn't
I mean,
apply.
in some ways, if you're looking to combine a committee, doesn't it make, well, I guess not when you throw code enforcement in there. Just thought economic development and community development
Yeah, it was-
somewhat under the same lines, but when you throw code enforcement in there,
It's
community.
the restructuring too, and then as far as the staff participation, and when you have the same staff, identical same staff participating in both area, well, then, and we're also calling it community development, so that umbrella is all of those aspects. So I'm only explaining what we were thinking.
Where it came from.
And I think it was split because I asked for it to be split, wasn't it?
Well, we were just, it was always 2 committees, but we did combine them for a while.
We used to meet together, I think, when we originally elected.
Sue, do you
I have a
have?
question about economic development. I don't see a rep from the Park District, and we've always had Bob Fleck there,
Move that.
unless I missed it.
It's
We
the
are-
gray, it's shaded, it's a.
Oh, there he is, okay. And how about somebody from the library, so that all of the taxing bodies are represented? I mean, since economic development is truly a community effort, Miss Library person. I mean, I really do think, each taxing body should be a part of that.
I totally agree, and I think that's one of the reasons we weren't going to approve tonight, because I needed to fine tune the economic development committee.
That'd be great.
So do we want a motion to postpone?
Yeah.
Make a motion to postpone.
Second, by Bear.
Motion been made, second to postpone until December 11th. Roll call, please.
Okay. Trustee Scott?
Yes.
Trustee Barry?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Barker?
Yes.
I would appreciate your
Feedback.
input on this, the entire time through December as you think of things.
When are you going to let us know who's,
I will, I'll
depends
pass
on
this,
what we do.
I kind of got a tentative idea right here.
Okay.
And I could, you know what, we'll send this out to you, I'll have my tentative, and you can give me comments, I kind of, on it. Basically, what I was looking at, knowing that we're going to lose our 2 senior trustees who are deciding not to run, yourself and Sue, I tried to choose committees that you would chair that would be easy for any new trustee to slide in and take it over, so.
That'd be pretty much any of them.
Yeah, really.
yeah.
It's pretty much any of them.
Not that they weren't difficult, but like the finance committee, Bob, I was going to have you from staff and myself, that those would be the best for anybody without a lot of experience to come in.
Well, and it'd be a good learning curve
Yes.
for new trustees, the finance aspect and the HR
Yes.
aspect. So I think
So
that's really
that was
good.
the intent, and we'll send this out.
Only with the guarantee that Spencer sticks around.
Spencer
That's
has
right.
to be, there you go.
And if we can keep trustee Scott involved with the EDC, I think that would be a great asset.
I've already let the mayor know.
Yeah, because you've done a great job with that committee, really.
I'd love
It's been
to
good.
appoint him as one of the residents at large, and he
Who would
agreed that he
represent
would
it,
do that, yes. So, okay, postpone?
We're done.
Yes, okay, moving on. Regular meeting schedule modification. Board to consider a motion to amend the regular meeting schedule adjusting the November 27, 2014 and the December 25th, 2014 meeting dates. Basically, both those are on holidays. I think staff has designed it to cover everything that's important at this meeting, and then we will at December the 11th, so we do not have to have a second meeting those months. So that's the intent behind it. And if we do, we can always call a special meeting. Right, John? 48 hours? So if there is a reason for it, we could always hold a special meeting. So do I have a motion then to modify the schedule excluding those two dates?
So move Seneca?
Second, Scott?
Motion made and second. On the question? Roll call, please.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
New business J, employment agreement. Board to consider an ordinance approving an employment agreement with a village manager. I'd ask that Attorney Zemanek take it from here.
Thanks, Mayor. You were previously provided with a draft contract for the new village manager. Mayor, maybe you want to...
Oh, I can announce that
is.
our new manager, and he has officially agreed, is our acting. We can take that away from his name now, and it would be Village Manager May. And we're excited about it. He's had probably 4 months now of actually proving to us that he's worthy of the position. He has done that, and we're excited about him officially becoming our new village manager.
And it's common for the village manager, not only here, but in most communities, to have a written contract. So we prepared one, distributed it to you. You guys have reviewed it previously. It has since been tweaked, minor tweaks by staff. Steve's retained his own independent attorney who's looked at it. Had a conversation with her this afternoon. She had a few minor tweaks, again, nothing significant. So from a legal standpoint, and I think from a staff standpoint, the recommendation is to approve this. And the ordinance allows me to basically make these cleanups, let the mayor review those, and he'd sign off on them, and I will email you by tomorrow the cleaned up version of the contract. Apologize you don't have it in your hands tonight, but it's kind of a last minute getting it out to his attorney and getting in touch with him.
And officially, as per Steve's suggestion, it's officially going to start November 17th, which just seems to correspond with your anniversary date.
It is.
It is. And so that's when the official contract will begin. So you're not yet the village manager until.
No filing on tomorrow.
Yeah.
But again, the better office. That same day, you got to wait till November
Yeah.
17th for your better office.
But again, I think we made the right choice. I have a lot of confidence in Steve, and again, congratulations. I think you did a tremendous job, so.
For sure.
I need a motion to approve that employment agreement.
Motion to approve, Barry.
Second, Scott.
On the question, anybody? Roll call, please.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
We'll move on to miscellaneous. unless you want to say anything at this point. Steve, you'll wait till I...
You know, that's the very first problem, because I was sitting there thinking, I was like, oh, this probably would have been a good time to have something figured out to say, but you know, occurring to me now, you know, it's not a good sign, but I do appreciate...
Hold on a second.
Well, we, you know, there's, you know, I don't want to say fell into this, but the circumstances that, you know, that brought this together were unusual, and for the last several months, you know, working towards that, I appreciate it is the, you know, the interest, you know, the invitation and the support that, you know, makes this possible as well. And this community is in a very interesting place, and I don't necessarily mean the community, but even the administration here. We've talked tonight about, you know, how new the village board is, and will be even newer in April. We have a lot of, another thing that makes this easy to consider is there's a lot of good staff in the right place or being moved into the right places, and this reorganization is nonstop. And this is, you know, add on to that, there's a lot of senior staff ready to take advantage of, you know, retirement opportunities, and there's just a great transition, and we're in this perpetual state of reorganization. And for as long as the economy's been bad, there's been a lot of good progress, both in, you know, some things had to been reduced, but, you know, programs and services are all, you know, in a good place, and they keep getting better, and there's a lot of opportunity. And I just, you know, looking forward. I'm looking forward literally and figuratively that there's a lot to be done, a lot to do, a lot of good things to happen, and will.
We are too.
I'll keep talking until the music plays.
No.
Nothing to say, you did a good job.
Yeah, for not knowing
I
what
just
you're going to
happened
say.
to pass your office, and I heard you rehearsing that. Oh, yeah, so, all right, well, again, congratulations, and we'll move on to miscellaneous. Anybody have anything they'd like to add? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the executive session to discuss personnel.
Motion to approve, Barker.
Second, Scott.
Motion been made, seconded to go to executive session for personnel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Barker,
Yes.
trustee Barry,
Yes.
trustee Scott, trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Okay, we will now go adjourn to executive session, and there will not be any further business afterwards. So this portion of the meeting is adjourned.